Yes.
All together. Yes. Yes, let's start with that.
You may need to stand. Okay.
I,
Irene
Rashid
Guides,
Akil,
do
do
solemnly
solemnly
swear
swear
that I will support, uphold,
and defend the Charter
and
and
ordinances
ordinances
of the City of Tampa,
the Constitution and laws
of the State of Florida,
and the Constitution and laws
of the United States of America,
that I'm entitled to hold
the office of
Member of the City of Tampa Citizen Review Board,
Member of the City of Tampa Citizens Review Board,
to which I've been reappointed,
to which I've been reappointed,
and that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
the duties of said position
the duties of said position
into and of which
into and of which
I'm about to enter.
I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good evening. The Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020 meeting of the Citizen Review Board is now called to order. If you will, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and if one could remain standing for a brief moment of silence for the families affected in our community by the coronavirus. We greatly appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please conduct a roll call.
Banks,
Here.
Collins, Simmons,
Present.
Tamayo,
Present.
Reyes, Present.
Guy,
Present.
Akil,
Here.
Blair,
Present.
Gendala.
Ngendella, present.
Let the record show that all members of the Citizen Review Board are present. At this time, I ask the Vice Chair, Ms. Irene Guy, to read the meeting guidelines.
Thank you, Rashid. Please silence all electronic devices. The duties and responsibilities of the Citizens Review Board are to review completed department investigations involving use of force in cases of importance and interest to the community or the city. Determine whether the disposition of reviewed cases was consistent with department policies and procedures. Review matters of importance or interest and make recommendations regarding the handling of these matters. Determine whether any revisions or additions to department policy and procedures are appropriate in reviewing matters of or importance or interest, and report findings and recommendations to the mayor and chief of police. Cases that are brought before the Citizens Review Board are closed internal affairs cases that have been investigated and brought to the police chief for disposition. It is the Citizens Review Board's job to review the cases and render an opinion as to whether the investigation was done according to department policies and procedures. The Citizens Review Board members are provided the investigative files in advance of the meeting. The Citizens Review Board will hear from the department whenever matters of interest or importance are requested for review by the board or the department. Members of the public will have an opportunity to address the Citizens Review Board during the public comment portion of the meeting. At that time, speakers will be given 3 minutes to speak. Members of the public addressing the board will first identify themselves by full name and address. Comments should be limited to matters related to the Tampa Police Department. Comments should not be made regarding ongoing professional standards investigations. Any member of the public who speaks without being recognized may be ruled out of order by the chair. Public comments should be directed to the board as a body and not to individual board members.
Thank you, Ms. Guy.
Wait, is that all of it? No, it isn't. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time breathing with this on, sorry. The coordinator for the board is Captain Kevin Schoolmesters. Any person who wishes to make a complaint concerning a matter which may be considered by the Professional Standards Bureau should see Captain Schoolmesters for information on how to file a complaint. The chair is responsible for maintaining an appropriate business-like decorum during the meeting. If anyone disrupts the proceedings or interferes with the process of the meeting, the chair shall have the right and obligation to ask them to discontinue the disruptive behavior. If the disruption continues, the chair may ask the person to leave the meeting and issue a warning to the person informing them that they can be removed from the meeting should they not leave. The board should not discuss matters where the city or the department may likely be a party in litigation. The public comment portion of the meeting is coming up early on the agenda. So if you wish to speak, please sign up now so you can be called in order. The chair will call the names on the list, so if you don't sign up to speak, your name won't be called. Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Guy. I just want to add a notation. Due to the coronavirus, we will not be passing out a sign-up sheet. However, when the public comment portion of the agenda is up, if you will, just when you approach the podium, just state your name and also spell it first and last name. Be greatly appreciated. Thank you. In addition to this health pandemic, the board was only able to meet once this year. Obviously, we're glad the city has made it able for us to get together today. Tonight, we'll be discussing the prior agenda set in March, as well as additional topics added onto the agenda at the request of some of the board members. Now we move on with the agenda, the approval of the minutes from the January 28th, 2020 meeting.
Make a motion that the minutes of the January 8th, 2020 meeting be accepted and filed for audit.
Second.
Dr. Collins has made a motion that the approval of the minutes of January 28, 2020 meeting. Ms. Guy has seconded the motion for approval of the minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we will continue with the vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes for the January 28th, 2020 meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the public comment portion. So again, if you will, if you're interested in allowing your voice to be heard, interested in any remarks, if you will, what podium will public comment? Anyone wish to approach the podium and participate in the public comment of the portion, please come to approach the podium, state your first and last name, including spelling.
Matthew Yampolsky, M-A-T-T-H-E-W, last name Yampolsky, Y-A-M-P-O-L-S-K-Y. My address is 8325 Bay Point Drive, Tampa, Florida, 33615. So I know we're about to discuss all the things that have been going on in this city, but you know, I think it's pertinent to bring up what happened a few weeks ago when the mayor and the police chief were still approving of riot gear and tear gas and rubber bullets as a method to disperse crowds. I was part of a peaceful protest that were doing nothing out of the line. The roads were blocked already. The cops showed up in the riot gear, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. A plastic bottle, because I was right in the front, empty plastic bottle of water hit a cop in riot gear in the shoulder, brushing against his shoulder. And what did he do? He turned around in anger and sprayed the crowd with his gun. Now, I don't care if they were lethal bullets or rubber bullets or pepper bullets. I don't care what they were. For a police officer to turn around in anger and spray a crowd is absolutely appalling. And for that to be going on in the city is appalling as well. We don't know if he didn't know who was behind him. A child, a 3-year-old, because there were kids at these peaceful protests because they were just that peaceful. Okay? And I don't understand how this city can trust a cop to fix the cop problem. Because that's what we have in Mayor Castor, just a cop, less than 5 years removed from being the boss of the cops. And now she's just a bigger wig, still in charge of those same cops. And she's approving those violent measures against peaceful protesters. And that's ridiculous. So things have to stop, things have to change. This cannot be fluff and conjecture and, oh, we hear you, and the time for conversation has passed. The time for conversation has passed. It's time to move forward from this archaic BS, get rid of the cops, and have our community leaders figure out a better way to handle the crowd and handle our city streets, okay? Because it seems to me we can handle it better ourselves than anybody in charge as of right now. You notice how there hasn't been any looting or fires or anything torn down ever since she's pulled back the police presence? Have you noticed that? Has anybody noticed that? Nothing's happening now. Nothing's happening now. So something has to stop. Something has to change. We can't just say, yes, 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 we'll talk about it. We'll have a meeting with cops and kids. No, that's not enough. It's not. So do something. You guys are in power and you are able to do something. And you can make change happen. So make it not conversation and make it action. Get Castor out of here. Let her have her scapegoat and Dugan and get him out first. She'll lose re-election anyways next year. So, but you guys need to change it. You guys do. I yield my time.
Thank you.
My name is DeMario Edgecombe. That's D.
Just one moment, Mr. Mario. Please continue.
Good evening. Again, my name is DeMario Edgecombe. That's D apostrophe capital M-A-R-I-O. Last name is Edgecombe, E-D-G-E-C-O-M-B-E. COMBE, and I reside at 2606 Rustic Ridge Loop, Lutz, Florida 33559. So I'm here to recount events also from Thursday, June 4th, 2020. I was a part of the organizers who hosted that protest. At the start of the protest, just like any other protest, we always preach peace, right? That everybody needs to be peaceful. Don't be that one person to mess it up for the group, because even though you might be that one person, it sheds light on all of us. We already seen that how protesters are stigmatized as rioters, as looters. We seen at our first protest, even though it was our protest, we were part of the first protest of the day on May 30th. That night ended in rioting and looting, and now all protesters are rioters or looters. So anyway, back to Thursday, June 4th. So we're marching down the street, and police are already blocking us off, so we're maneuvering, and then we get off, I believe it's East Ashley or whatever street, and for some reason they assume that we're trying to blockade the highway or go on the freeway, and so the bike squad, I guess that's when they have their approval, because they were already following us around, but this time they had action, because you can tell by the way they were riding their bikes. So as we're processing and we're marching down the road, right, and the bike patrol or the group of bike cops, they're going and then they're yelling at my protesters, move, move, get out of the way. But we were already on the street. They're pushing people, and it came to a part where one of the cops got caught with a young girl's umbrella, right? As he's pushing people out of the way, his arm gets caught, and he's dragging her. But your chief said that she hit him with the umbrella. But clearly on a video that was posted by their account, you can clearly see her being dragged, right? So she finally breaks free. So we're corralling people, stand back, stand back. They're setting up their bikes. They have a little blockade, which they always do. And they get off their bike and they're already shaking up pepper spray. They came with a mission. They're already shaking out the pepper spray. Get back, get back, get back. The young girl was not trying to hit them. She was just moving, walking away, right? And then one of the officers, what do? He tackles her and brings her to the ground. And this officer puts that's my 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mario.
Thank you.
My name is Timothy Watson, Timothy Watson. Reside at 5308 North 50th Street, Tampa, Florida 33619. I was also, there's a common theme here, I was also one of the peaceful protesters on June 2nd. I happened to be arrested that night. We were given a 3-minute dispersal order to disperse. For whatever reason, they deemed our peaceful protest unlawful. At that time that we got the dispersal order, and I was live. I have my Facebook page is Timmy Two Turnt. I cover all the protests live. When we got the dispersal order, everyone started to disperse, and as other people were saying, we were corralled and not given away to get back to our vehicles. And essentially, I know that the police chief Dugan is in the corner over there. He was the one that called the order to basically ambush us and arrest all of us. We were on the ground. Me specifically, I was on the ground already with everyone else on the ground. We were met with rubber bullets, tear gas, pepper spray. I got pepper sprayed on the ground while I was laying down. I had tear gas coming at me while I was already on the ground right next to my face. The day after that, a press conference was held by the police chief and the mayor, and they showed this big bucket of rocks and bricks that they said were thrown that night. That's a lie. That was a peaceful protest. What I'm asking for is some accountability. You know, what happened to the 68 people that arrested that night was not okay whatsoever, and it should never have happened. All the charges were dropped. That just tells me we weren't doing anything wrong. And the fact that no one has stepped up, especially you, Mr. Dugan, no one has stepped up and taken accountability for this, that's nonsense. We need a leader. The police chief needs to be a leader for the community. The mayor needs to be a leader for the community. If you don't want to do your job, step down and let somebody else do it. Someone that's going to do it right. There's a huge divide in this city right now. Huge divide. And it's not black and white. It's the people versus the police department. And that starts with you, Mr. Dugan. I would like you to come clean and tell the truth about that night, because the facts will come out, and the video's out there, the police scanner recording's out there. You won't acknowledge anything, Mr. Dugan. I want you to be held accountable, just like you would hold citizens accountable for breaking the law. So you should be held accountable as well, because you broke the law with your order that night. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Didier Salgado, Didier Salgado. I stay at 15105 Buckhorn Court, Lutz, Florida, 33559. I would also like to recount events because I was there during that peaceful protest. Not only was I there, I was at the front. Just to back up on the events that happened, first things first, to say that the empty water bottle being thrown was a reason to tear gas a whole group of people, number one, is an issue within itself. Number two, there's multiple videos, not just one, not just three, but there's literally videos everywhere on social media that have shown each and every angle needed to show that these police were spraying us before any water bottle was thrown. Thirdly, the next day, well, I was sprayed twice, not just once, but twice. Once across the face, and then again across my body by Officer French. So the next day, while I was in pain trying to watch whatever lie statement would come forth, someone asked the chief in the corner, I won't say his name because I don't respect him that much. Somebody asked him, let's say this did happen, why was that much force needed on a 17-year-old girl? And in the most disgusting words I've ever heard, insensitive to everything happening, there's no way he can deny it because it was on TV, he had the nerve to say, had the officers done this to George Floyd, he would still be alive. How insensitive and how disgusting is that? So I just need accountability to really take place when there's literally multiple facets of evidence out there available. There's no reason any of this is even being investigated. There's no reason it's even in question. There's no reason we have to fight to be heard. I yield my time.
Thank you.
Cool. Greetings, I am Jeremiah Nichols. I'm gonna spell that for you guys. JeremiahNichols. Like I said, greetings, I'm Jeremiah Nichols, a second year African American Studies scholar from Tampa, Florida. My residence is 7708 North Central Avenue, Seminole Heights. And I do want to recount a story, but also want to say something else. So first, the march on June 4th, Curtis Hickson Park. I remember we were walking down, I forgot what street of it, but it's the main street. And mind you, I'm marching with my mother. Civil rights activist back in the day, you know. And so we're marching, and then literally, like, we see a whole blockade, right? And for us, like, my mom is not a threat. she's 40 years old, she's not a threat. And for her, I gotta basically pick her up and run away from the tear gas. I think that's just really uncalled for. Not to say they're old, but yes, they're old and we're kids. So why you see so much of us as a threat? That's just one perspective. And secondly, what power do you guys really have? I really do question that. And thirdly, I want to address the mayor's reform. I think it's whack, personally. She released the other day she's going to form a 40-member task force of community leaders, business owners, etc. Well, who determines who's a community leader? Because apparently we're the ones leading the community. What business owners is going to be there? I hope black business owners. So one thing I do want to press is that the ones that need to do the reform and need to be at the helm of this reform is not the mayor, it's not the police chief, it's not even you guys, it's us. We're the ones who are getting hurt, brutalized, and so we need to be at the helm of the reform. Not even reform, but revolution. I yield my time.
Thank you.
My name is Alicia Sastry. I reside at 13102 Mike Drive, Tampa, Florida. Before I get into things, I also was at the June 4th protest. There were a few charges. There were 3 arrested that night on what I believe are souped up charges to avoid being dropped initially with the, civil disobedience. At the start of the protest, same as others have said, we were continually asked to be peaceful by the same person that, was charged for inciting a riot. I don't believe that we were inciting a riot. We weren't even going to the interstate. We were trying to get to, I believe, Armitage. That was a very organized protest. There were medics assigned. There were, legal representatives assigned. We had all intentions of being peaceful. The only reason why it went the way it did, I believe, in my experience, was because of the Tampa Police Department. If you've noticed, there's still protests going on, whether they're getting coverage or not, as much as before. They've all been peaceful. What's the difference between that? Tampa Police Department has left us alone. That being said, there's a few things I think that could be changed in our community. There's way too much funding for the Tampa Police Department. I believe those funds should be allocated to mental health resources, social services, education, community-led. I don't like the word policing, but we need to be more involved in our community, not the police department. I think we know our people best. I think we have the best chance of making it work. The bulk of the budget goes to TPD. It needs to be dispersed out into other resources. One of the biggest things I did want to at least add was, these officers, they need to hold themselves accountable. In Minneapolis, if the other officers had held, I'm not going to say his name, but if they had held him accountable, George Floyd would be alive today. I think it's the duty of all Tampa Police Department, any cop should be able to hold each other accountable. I think that I think cops should be reprimanded if they don't hold each other accountable. That falls for TPD as well. If you guys see something, you should say something, you should hold each other accountable. If we have to do that as a community, so should TPD. That's all I really have to say. I yield my time.
Thank you.
Hello. My name
Greetings.
is Carissa Hart, K-A-R-I-S-S-A-H-A-R-T. My address is 3815 Tower Road, Tampa, Florida, 33614. And I don't have much else different to say. I just want to add pretty much everything everyone's saying, but I have been at almost every protest documenting, and as of late it has been peaceful, but in the beginning they were always rioted by the police. They always showed up in riot gear while we were peaceful, especially downtown. We were always corralled. They always came giving the orders, this is an unlawful gathering, started macing us, tear gassing us, shooting rubber bullets. And I just do think that the police need to be held accountable. Things do need to change. Like the first guy that spoke, these meetings are nice, but we really do need people to help us get changes. We need things, we need laws passed, we need less funding to the police department. Like my sister just said, we need more money sent to mental health. That is our biggest issue in this community, not the police. They don't need more riot gear. They have enough of that, and the riot gear that they have, they are using it improperly. That's it. I yield my time.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, my name's Alex Schwab, S-C-H-W-A-B. I reside at 2317 Alley Lane, A-L-L-Y, Land O'Lakes, Florida, 34639. And to be quite honest with you, I wasn't planning on speaking today. I just wanted to come to show support and listen, but since I'm not sure anybody's going to bring this up, I figure I might as well. I am terrified to speak here today. I am terrified. And that is because on Twitter, I saw something about TPD releasing a protester's name, age, and address to the public. And when they were asked why TPD felt the need to release that, they said that if he felt threatened, he should call the authorities. That smacks of intimidation, and that is not okay. That is not okay in this city, in this state, or in this country. And I am appalled that TPD would say something like that. And you know what? You're going to hear a lot about the other protests, so you don't really need to hear that from me. I yield my time.
Thank you.
My name is Timothy Watson. I've already spoke. I just wanted to add, one more thing. Is anything going to be heard at this meeting? Is anything going to be done? I'm looking in the corner right now, and I see the police chief on his cell phone texting, not giving a crap about what's going on. Are you listening, Mr. Dugan? Hello?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
You had the opportunity to approach the podium.
Yes,
We
sir.
heard
I'm
you.
just saying
Gave
that
your 3
we
minutes.
should have
Let's
the
allow
police chief.
others.
We should have the police chief's full divided attention while we are speaking. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Please be seated.
Good evening. My name is Holly Katchler, Hollykachler, and I reside at 6230 Wild Orchid Drive, Lithia, Florida. I attended a protest on May 31st here in Tampa. This was the day that the curfew was assigned. This incident occurred about an hour before the curfew. We were kneeling in the streets, and the officers started spraying us with tear gas. Completely unprovoked. We were sprayed with tear gas for kneeling in the street. We then started chanting the word peaceful to remind the officers that we are being completely peaceful. We were chanting the word peaceful, and officers started shooting rubber bullets at us for chanting the word peaceful. My friend was hit in the head by a projectile. Officer Dugan, what about an 18-year-old girl chanting the word peaceful warrants a projectile being shot at her head? Why were they aiming at her head in the first place? absolutely ridiculous. That's not okay. And we need to hold these officers accountable, and we need to hold our chief accountable. Because the fact of the matter is, this has happened for far too long. It didn't just start with George Floyd. This issue has been happening for years and years and years and years, and we need to do something about it. It's too late. This should have been taken care of, I don't even know how long ago, but nobody is listening. So I ask you all here today, please, don't just sit here and listen to us. Actually hear what we have to say and make some change. I yield my time.
Thank you.
My name is Shivam Shukla, S-H-I-V-A-M, S-H-U-K-L-A. I stay at 9509 Norchester Circle. I'm here to talk about the Tampa Police Department, the institution that you all supposedly keep in check. The institution that in 2015, while Mayor Castro was chief of police, targeted black and brown bicyclists as young as 3 years old. The institution that sent delegates to apartheid Israel to train with the IDF. The institution that used tear gas, rubber-coated bullets, and mace on peaceful protesters this month. The institution that just this week pointed a gun at an unarmed black woman sitting in a car. Is this reformable? Tampa police did all this, plus countless other examples of arbitrary arrest and police brutality while reforms had already been implemented. Mayor Castro and Chief Dugan in the corner over there proudly say that their department adopted the 8 can't wait policies. But what does this mean? It means that despite those reforms, the police are still a violent, oppressive, and out-of-control force. It proves that reforms don't work. It proves that we need to defund and abolish the police department. But let's talk about this past month. I was at a protest on May 30th, one of the first ones on Fowler. Even Mayor Castro marched beside us and tried to, take some pictures for the media. Then less than 24 hours after, she told her police department to attack us at a protest near MLK Boulevard. I was at that Cyrus Green Park protest. It was 100% peaceful. There were kids there. Then the police showed up in full riot gear and started shooting tear gas canisters, rubber-coated bullets, and pepper spray at everyone. I saw clearly marked medics who were shot and gassed while trying to help people. I saw protesters who were walking away and were shot in the back. Is this reformable? By a long shot, the most violent, brutal, and chaotic group of people during the protest have been the police. They instigated and started the violence. Yet Castro and Chief Dugan told the media that their cops showed restraint. You think this is reformable? Last week, Tampa Police and Chief Dugan over there posted on social media in support of a Back the Blue rally, where the Blue Lives Matter rhetoric was used. Let me just end by saying this. Black lives matter. Blue lives don't exist. It's not a blue life, it's a freaking blue shirt. So get a grip and abolish the police.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamie Bullock, Jamie-Bullock. I reside at 1513 East Annona Avenue, Tampa, Florida, 33612. I would just also like to recount the events that happened on the peaceful protest on June 4th. I was in the front when officers dragged 17-year-old Marley Church to the ground and piled on top of her. I stood more than 10 feet away from the officers, recording everything, which I have video of, and I begged for them to get off of Marley. An officer to my right heard me and sprayed me directly in my face with pepper spray, completely unwarranted. I posed no threat to this officer. I did nothing aggressive of the manner, and I was sprayed innocently. I was not the only person sprayed in this crowd. Like several others have said, the entire crowd was sprayed with pepper spray, and we all ran as if we were gonna die because that's how it felt at that moment. We've gone past the point of police reform. I don't want to hear anything about reforming the police. I don't want to hear anything about Jane Castor. I don't want to hear anything about Dugan. At the end of the day, I want to hear what you're doing to our community and what you're going to do to help us with what's going on right now. We thought that giving the cops body cams would do something, and what do they do with those? They turn them off. So what makes you think that there's anything else that you're going to do to change their behavior except get rid of them? We don't need them. In that specific scenario, who are the police protecting? Because not the citizens of the community who they work for. That absolutely makes no sense, and I'm sorry for being so emotional, but it's like several people have said, it's past the point of talking. And how many more people have to die or be unlawfully arrested for you guys to understand that? I yield my time.
Thank you.
Check. Good evening. First name is Brian, B-R-I-A-N. Last name is McLaughlin, M-C-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N. I'd rather not give my address because I cannot trust the Tampa Police Department to not misuse that information, as our friend already alluded to. I'm not here to recount any events. I just want to draw attention to something that I think really needs to be looked at. The 2020 budget for law enforcement in Hillsborough County is $463 million. I'll say it again, $463 million. There are 200,000 people in Hillsborough County living in poverty. Do you know how many times we could erase poverty in Hillsborough County with some of that money, yet we choose not to do it over and over and over again? Crime comes from people in need, in poverty-stricken communities. We can erase crime if we invest in those communities. And I challenge you guys, our voices aren't being heard. When we speak up, we get shot with tear gas. You guys have a responsibility to pressure the decision makers and people in public office to carry out these wishes of the taxpayers, because that's what public office is for, is to carry out the needs and wants of the community. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
My name is Jay. I'm going to start this off by saying, on Sunday, I was deliberately struck by a white supremacist vehicle. Before peeling out and hurling in my direction, what he said was "fuck Black lives." Before that happened, though, me and my fellow protesters said, "Mild inconvenience is far greater than a black life lost." So I have a couple things to say. One, I'm here because I want to publicly say that Mayor Jane Castor needs to fire Police Chief Dugan for his inaction. Police Chief Dugan went and had a press conference and said protesters were hypocrites. Police Chief Dugan didn't make a press conference and say an attempted murderer is still on the loose. If you don't like protesters, that's fine, but what if that guy who ran me over gets mad at a little old lady in the grocery store parking lot and run her over? So are we worried about the citizens of Tampa, or are we worried about the fragile ego of a police chief? It's irresponsible and unprofessional for him to make these statements, from blatantly lying about the use of force tactics used on peaceful protesters to dog whistles antagonizing people who don't like protesters. When you as a police chief can make a press conference and say, you know, we were showing up to protest and they were claiming we were beating on them, so now we don't show up. That's unprofessional. And if he would say that at a press conference, what is he telling his officers at his daily brief? If you can go on a press conference and say, if you're stuck in traffic and you don't like it, you know, you could do something about it and step up. What does he think a person who is angry in a car is going to do to people standing in front of it? He knows exactly what he's doing. My injuries, I'm not even supposed to be here. I have a concussion. That's why I got these glasses on inside. The way that they treat peaceful protesters in Tampa, we can't even do that in the military or with enemy combatants. Fleeing protesters and you're shooting them in the back. As a 14-year veteran with 2 combat deployments, I understand crowd control. I understand use of force, and I understand rules of engagement. And I also understand that Police Chief Dugan needs to be fired because he's an incapable leader. That's it.
Thank you for your commentary.
Hello. First, I would like to say hello, everyone. My name is Johnnisha Wilkerson. I was just recently involved in the TPD video that has gone viral around Tampa. I'm here speaking because ever since Tampa Police Department has released their footage of their video, I have gotten over 200 calls of harassment. I've been threatened. I've been placed in a hotel for my safety. I have a 2-year-old son. I'm a mother. I have been attacked on Instagram. I can't even go to my house to check. I contacted my landlord this morning and advised him that I checked on the house, and it's just a lot has been going on right now. I do understand that they keep going around saying that my video is edited. My video is in fact not edited. It is recorded from start all the way until finish, if you can see on the police video where they grabbed my hand and stopped the video. A lot of people are concerned and saying that the gun wasn't pointed at me, it was pointed in the low ready position. But what I want to know is, what was the officer ready to do? Also, some people are saying that he was pointed to the ground. The gun was pointed to the ground. That officer is around 6'2" to 6'3". I am 5'6", sitting inside of a vehicle, so of course the gun will be pointed downward. It was not pointed to the ground. I'm asking you today, begging and pleading with you to please take down or mute my personal information. I have to put a 7-year lock on my credit. I don't know what's going on at my house when I'm not there. And I feel like Tampa Police Department, the only thing they had to say was, if she's in fear for her life, call local authorities. But Tampa Police Department is my local authorities. I gotten threats. I called Tampa Police Department. I advised them of my issue. They kept rerouting my call, telling me that this matter has to go through Internal Affairs. It has to go through the media specialist. No one have reached out to me. Not the mayor, not TPD, not anyone. I just want to ask a question to the officer who pointed their gun at me. What if you were in my position? What if I posted all of your information? What if your family was at risk? What would you do? Will you want that person to get in trouble? Will you fight to save your information? I just feel, honestly, like nobody is here for me. Only person that reached out to me is media and news. And to be honest, the only thing that's edited is the news channel. They only showed the first 5 seconds of the video and nothing else from the video. And I feel like that is completely unfair. I did 30 minutes to an hour interviews with each one of these news stations, and none of them told them how I feel except Bay News 9. So I'm asking again today and pleading to either mute out my information or take the video down in all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I get started, I have a list of demands I'd like to pass out to these fine people up here. Maybe have a look at it while I talk a little bit about my history as a Tampa resident native. 1, 2, 3. If there's enough time, I'll read these out. My name is Tulio Gonzalez Militieri. I'm going to give you a brief bio of myself so that you understand how it relates to this list of demands. I grew up here in Tampa my entire life. I went to Tampa Bay Boulevard Elementary. After that, I went briefly to Bayshore Christian School before being kicked out for not fitting in with my wealthy white peers. Found myself going to Madison Middle School and eventually being harassed by the school resource officer in Jefferson High School. That's when I dropped out. That's due to over-policing in our school system. Eventually, I found myself in the United States military. I got injured, crippling injury, and that makes me a disabled veteran. My income's, and I'm not ashamed to say this, my income is $12,000 a year. I don't know about you fine people up here, but I don't think that's enough to survive on. So I think my perspective is a little more important. So I'm just going to read this out, and then I'm going to read out our list of demands, and maybe talk a little bit about the malignant system that we're in. We, the members of the Tampa Democratic Socialists of America, that's DSA, we developed a list of demands to address the violent policing system that fails to efficiently serve and protect members of the Tampa Bay community, particularly our communities of color. The urgency which we present these demands is driven by the brutal murder of George Floyd by the Minneapolis Police Department on May 25th, 2020. This is only the most recent in a long line of Black Lives Lost. We had more people since then get killed by police, over-policing, police brutality, vigilante injustice, what have you. Unequivocally, Black Lives Matter, Brown Lives Matter. So getting to the nitty-gritty of the list of demands, we'd like to cut 15% of the Tampa Police Department's budget, which currently accounts for over 38% of our city's general fund and 18.6% of the total city budget. We want to redirect this money towards public transportation, low-income housing, education, particularly education, and community public health centers by 2022. We'd like to decouple access to health care from policing by building separate institutions for clinical dispatches, increase the number of 24/7 adult and child mobile crisis teams responding to mental health crises, ensuring that each team includes both a certified peer support specialist and a licensed clinician. Dispatch only EMTs the cause of drug overdoses, only EMTs. Dispatch licensed clinicians to with law enforcement to all calls related to domestic violence. I don't see the purpose of having a police officer with a gun show up because of a domestic dispute. Maybe that's just me, you know. If I have an argument with a partner, I don't need to die for that, just saying. Ban the use of pepper spray, tear gas, rubber bullets, beanbag bullets, LRADs, and armored vehicles by TPD against public demonstrators. Ban the use of facial recognition software such as Clearview AI that infringe upon privacy rights. That's the Fourth Amendment.
Excuse me, sir. Do you wish to express any commentary that's not on the list? Your limit is up to 3 minutes, so if you will.
All right. I don't have a formal education. I'm a nobody off the street. I may be well-read and well-spoken, but that's just evidence that if people like myself, which there are many, can fall through the cracks, then this system that we're currently in here in Tampa, Florida, Hillsborough County, in the United States of America is not working. Capitalism is not working, okay? Capitalism is not working.
Thank you, sir. This is tangible information. The board would definitely review this information. And again, I applaud all you all being here today. And we're all in the same boat. Well, let me say this. You all remind me of myself when I was at your age. And it is time for change. And as long as I'm sitting on this panel, I'm part of that change as well. I believe the community agrees that change has to happen. And change will happen. And we will make change happen. That's what we're gonna figure out. That's what we're gonna figure out in due process, is the how. And if the how doesn't work, we're gonna sit back at the table and figure out something else. But we're gonna continue to try, and we're gonna continue to update whatever's necessary to ensure the safety and the protection of the community.
How can we even trust you to say that we're not make change at all?
One moment, approach the podium so we can hear your words, and the words can be recorded. If you will, go ahead, miss.
Surely. My name is Tori Brown, T-O-R-I, Brown like the color for the record. I'm here because I am concerned about my city. As stated before, I've been born and raised in Tampa, Florida. I've seen a lot of changes, I've seen a lot of issues that have come about, and I've seen everyone be complacent. So you're telling me that you're going to change the system, and if it doesn't work, come back to the drawing board, and if that doesn't work, this just seems like placating and like you're playing with people's lives. I need everyone to understand that. These are our lives. You all get to sit up here, cushy jobs, look at us, hear us give you our trauma, right? And you decide if you want to do something. That man over there in the corner, Chief Dugan, he decides if people's lives are at risk. And you want to be on the phone in the corner, not doing anything, and you think that's okay? And I pay your salary, dude. And you want to go on national TV and lie and think that nobody's going to say something. That's ridiculous. I had to fight to even get into this room. I had to fight to get into this room. So please do not sit here and say you're going to do, no. The demands of the people must be met. That's it. People aren't playing games anymore. I need people to understand that. This is not about reform. The police budget for body cameras is $2.6 million just for body cameras. The first protest I went to, there were 20 officers, 1 body camera. What am I paying for? What does reform do? What? You all have already adopted, 6 or 7 of the 8 can wait? We can't wait. We can't. It's not working. It's not working. It's not. $2.6 million towards body cameras, and you decide when you want to turn them on. You decide if you want to wear it. You manipulate data? No. Abolish the police. That's it. That's it. And I know for you all, and maybe even people in the community, it sounds scary, it sounds daunting, because it forces us to reimagine a society where, in totality, we are not relying on punishment. We are not relying on violence. We're not relying on those things to solve real issues. People are hurting. People are poor. People are living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know if y'all know how it feels to live paycheck to paycheck. That is painful. That drives you to violence. That drives you to commit crime. If you pay people living wages, if you give people health care, if you give people a successful way to live their lives, that deters crime. Not putting police officers in black and brown neighborhoods to monitor. The safest places in America are suburbs. Why? Because they have access to health care. They have access to good schools. They have the ability to live their lives. We are simply asking to live. I shouldn't have to come up here and beg you to let me live. So abolish the police, and black lives do matter.
Thank you.
So, officers taking a knee, or a mayor directs the creation of a city mural. These are the changes that we've seen so far. We are now demanding real and solution-oriented action, not just symbolic gestures and police reforms that only serve as a temporary fix for a larger problem. Now is the time that we move past symbolism and focus our efforts on helping the black community who have been grossly mistreated by law enforcement for generations. It shouldn't be this hard to acknowledge that black people are human and that our lives matter. Any effort that Tampa political leadership has shown us thus far has been performative symbolism and a distraction from the real policy changes that we are demanding. Asking for police funding to be reallocated to other aspects of the community is not radical and is currently being done in other places in the US. Mayor Eric Garcetti is calling for a $150 million cut to the LAPD. Mayor de Blasio has confirmed that funding will be shifted from NYPD to Youth and Social Services. The Minneapolis City Council is beginning the process of ending Minneapolis PD and creating a transformative model for cultivating community safety. Do not tell me or anyone standing here that we are illogical for demanding that the Tampa PD be defunded, especially after their behavior over the last few weeks. And to clarify, adding 600 body cams to the budget when there's over 1,000 law enforcement officers in Tampa is not a solution. That is a distraction. If Tampa law enforcement was not on camera the day they brutalized a peaceful protest, I guarantee you this conversation would be very different. Until this is effectively handled, none of you sitting in front of me are with us at all. So do not tell us that you are until you make real changes. Just because crime rates have lowered, according to the graphic listed on Jane Castor's budget plan on the Tampa City page, does not mean the Black community is not being affected at disproportionate rates in Tampa, Florida. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement can coin the number of purse snatchings, but can't provide statistical evidence of how many times police fired on citizens in a given year. No precinct in any part of Florida can give that, including Tampa. Between 2009 and 2014, the Times found that in 827 cases of police shootings, 66% of victims were Black. Black people were twice as likely to be shot after being pulled over for a traffic violation or by reaching for something that, like a license or a gear shift, something that the police thought was a weapon. That is not okay. And let me also add, Black victims were 4 times more likely to be shot in the back. I'll say it bluntly, Tampa leadership has failed us. They have failed Black people, they have failed Black women, they have failed Black LGBT, they have failed us, period. Reallocate the funding and explicitly speak out against this system, or I promise nobody is going to stop protesting anytime soon.
Hello. I don't know if y'all can hear me. I would like to speak on behalf of the protesters, on behalf of my colleagues that are out here every day, on behalf of people that graduated, on behalf of people that got into scholarships, on people that are in organizations that are progressing in life. These are people that live their lives normally every day, or try to live their lives normally every day. It is not easy for us to be sitting here and protesting every day, and we get called us to be the violent people. When on the other hand, the people that are violent are sitting on that side of the room. What I'm saying in another way too, you said that you were gonna make change, and I'm just letting you know, we are not gonna stop until change comes. We are not gonna be tired. We are done. Enough is enough. It's been 400 years. It's only been 30 minutes for y'all on the road to be saying to them, oh, if you're stuck on the road, do what you gotta do. For 30 minutes, it's been 400 years. If you can look to me when I'm talking to you, you can't even do that. That's exactly what cowards do. Thank you all.
Honestly, I don't know how to begin. In all honesty, I'm tired of talking. I'm tired of talking because I know you guys will not help us. You guys have shown time and time again that you will not help us. This last Tuesday, I believe it was, I sat down with Jane Castor and had a meeting with her. And I spoke with her for 2 hours straight. I brought 17 pages in to show her exactly what you guys are doing to us. We are out there fighting every day. I'm sure Chief Dugan knows about me. I'm sure Chief Dugan knows about a lot of people in this room who have been fighting every day to be heard, fighting every day so you guys can see that there's something that we are fighting for. We're in a pandemic. People are dying. We are out there protesting, sacrificing our lives so you guys can see that our life matters. You guys don't see that. We are out there, this last protest, somebody drove their car. I know you saw Jay come up here. Somebody drove their car into her, breaking her pelvis, and I don't even know what else broke. These tensions are rising. People are upset. Every day that goes by is somebody's life that can be lost. We are fighting for a reason, and you guys are not respecting that. We were tear gassed. I brought up to Jane Castor how we were tear gassed. I brought up to Jane Castor how we are being shot with rubber bullets. I showed her pictures, and she denied all of it. She denied all of it. People are dying day in and day out, and you guys are not watching. 8 people were just hung from trees, and you guys are not listening. This is a problem. This is a problem, and I'm telling you, tensions will continue to rise, and we will continue to be out there, and all the blood that is on that streets is on your heads. Inaction is violent at this point. Silence is violent. You're either with us or you're against us, and I don't think you guys understand that. You say that you will help us, you say that change is coming, but time and time again, you guys say change was coming. We protested in Ferguson, we protested here in Tampa, we protested everywhere, and there has been no change. Now there are 50 states protesting. It is international. How many more people have to tell you that we need help? You guys chose to put a city council meeting with only 50 seats, when we have hundreds and thousands of people in the streets fighting every day. Do you think we're animals? We are here to show you that we want change. We are showing up. You have 100 people outside waiting to get in here and talk, and you guys can't even give them that opportunity. It doesn't make sense. I'm tired of talking because you guys are playing us. I don't want to hear that change will happen. I want to see it happen. This entire police system was built as a racist institution with racist ideologies. It will not work unless you defund it and reconstruct it. I spoke with Jane Castor, and she told me the reason they cannot reconstruct it is because she promised that they would increase the salary, that they're on a contract for 2 years. There is no plan to help us. Don't act like there is. Show us change. I refuse to be out here over and over again and risk my life. Like I said, I just graduated college. I was ready to do a whole bunch of stuff, not fight in the streets and risk my life every single day, not get arrested for things I didn't do. Marley has a case against her fabricated by lies made by Chief Dugan and his officers. I have a case against me saying that I was antagonized in a riot when there's things that showed that I did not. My friend Stephanie Sanchez said that she was assaulted an officer when she has a video of her on her knees. You guys are killing us. And I can't put it any other way, and you guys do not care. You guys do not care. There is no plan on helping us and changing the system. But I need to see it done because we will not stop. And I'm tired of talking. You guys know our demands. You know what we want. Give us what we want. You will continue to kill us. I should not have to explain to the mayor what systematic racism is, and she looks at me like I'm saying something new.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I live in Tampa. Real quick, I know you guys may or may not care. It doesn't really matter because you guys don't have any power, you don't have any teeth. You're just here to make us happy, so we have somebody to yell at. That's not Chief Dugan. That's not Mayor Castor. So I'm going to speak directly to Mayor Castor, who decided not to show up today. Fire Chief Dugan and then resign. I yield my time.
Hi, my name's Lysandra Morales, and although I would like to curse you all out for just sitting there doing nothing, I yield my time to this man.
Sir, you had opportunity to approach the podium and state your will. Yes, sir.
So, yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Once you approach the podium and reserve your 3 minutes, and once your time is up, we appreciate your commentary, but let's allow other opportunities for others to be heard.
I would like to give him the opportunity.
All right, well, I'm going to pick up where I left off.
Sir.
Keep the curfew related to public demonstrations lifted indefinitely. All right. If I get dragged out of here, it's tampadsa.org. If y'all are curious for what the list looks like. Keep the curfew related to public demonstrations lifted indefinitely. Remove requirements for permits to exercise First Amendment rights. Adopt a policy to reduce asset forfeiture, which currently accounts for approximately $1 million of TPD's budget, including a provision prohibiting the TPD or its employees from benefiting from seized assets. For assets that cannot be returned to the arrested party, the assets should be liquidated and the resulting funds should be diverted to public education and or mental health services. Dissolve Tampa PD and Hillsborough County School Board's School Resource Officer Program to completely replace SROs with licensed clinical social workers, psychologists, and nurses in public schools by 2021. Ban the use of no-knock warrants and chokeholds. Decriminalize all drug possession and sex work. Call on Governor DeSantis to immediately end the deployment of the National Guard within the city of Tampa. Fire Police Chief Dugan for the Tampa Police Department's violent use of force against peaceful protesters. Issue summons.
Order.
We demand the Tampa Police Department issue summons or citations in lieu of utilizing custodial arrest for nonviolent misdemeanors. Investigate prevalence of white supremacist groups and individuals within the TPD.
Adopt a policy requiring full transparency in officer conduct and training history. Disarm all patrol officers by 2022. The city, regarding the city of Tampa and its contract with the Tampa Police Benevolent Association, we demand that the city of Tampa renegotiate its contracts with the TPBA once it expires after 2022 to remedy provisions that currently act as impediments to accountability for officers who use force in violation of the law or policy. Amendments to the existing contract should mandate yearly fitness for duty evaluations. Make personnel records of TPD officers accessible to the public. Keep complaints on file even if the allegations are not deemed to be substantiated. Keep letters of counseling and personnel files permanently. We demand that the state attorney, Andrew Warren, institute an office-wide policy that assistant state attorneys are not to seek cash bail. Institute an office-wide policy that assistant state attorneys should advocate that defendants be released on their own recognizance unless the defendant is a danger to the community or a flight risk. Immediately drop all existing charges for nonviolent misdemeanor cases. Immediately stop the direct filing of juvenile cases into the adult criminal system, regardless of the severity of the crime. Continue the moratorium on evictions and foreclosures for the duration of the pandemic. Now that I'm finally finished with this list, this is my message to y'all. One of two things is gonna happen. One of two things, right? And I prefer the latter to the former. The first, y'all are gonna have to kill me out in these protests. I'm not scared of dying. I already died once. Or we can actually negotiate this right here. Y'all got a copy. When you're ready to talk, hit me up.
Hello, my name is Z Ramos. I'm at 401 West Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa. I've lived in Florida almost my whole life, and on May 31st, I watched TPD officers in riot gear advance on unarmed community members unprovoked, and after shooting many of us with sublethal rubber bullets directly instead of at the ground, which is protocol, I watched a 12-year-old little girl get pepper spray directly in her face twice while looking scared 4 blocks from her home. She had a panic attack afterwards. And throughout protests I've attended over the last few weeks, TPD officers have assaulted community members and targeted medics and children, which violates the Geneva Convention and local protocol. A local white supremacist tried to run me over on Sunday and instead drove over my friend, as she spoke earlier. For this and other reasons, I support the full abolition of the Tampa Police Department and a reallocation of every single cent used to murder our community for housing, public transportation, healthcare, education, food gardens throughout the city, green energy, and all other community needs in this city. Consider some facts from an amazing article written by Maria May Caba for the New York Times. It's called Literally Abolish the Police. We can't reform the police. The only way to diminish police violence is to reduce contact between the public and the police. There is not a single era in the United States history in which the police were not a force of violence against Black, brown, and indigenous people. Policing in the South emerged from the slave patrols in the 17 and 1800s that caught and returned runaway enslaved folks. In the North, the first municipal police departments in the mid-1800s helped quash labor strikes and uprisings against the rich, like the ones you've seen in the last few weeks. Everywhere they have suppressed marginalized populations to protect the status quo and property. So when you see a police officer pressing his knee into a Black man's neck until he dies, that's the logical result of policing in America. When a police officer brutalizes a Black person, he, like Chief Dugan, is doing what he sees as his job. And after the 1967 urban uprisings, the Kerner Commission released a now familiar set of recommendations, like working to build a community support for law enforcement and reviewing police operations in the ghetto to ensure proper conduct by police officers. These commissions, like the one before me, do not stop the violence. They just served as a counterinsurgent function each time police violence led to protests. Calls for similar reforms were trotted out in response to the brutal police beating of Rodney King in 1991 and the rebellion that followed. The final report of the Obama administration's President Task Force on 21st Century Policing resulted in procedural tweaks like implicit bias, yada, yada. But even a member of the task force, Tracy Mears, noted in 2017, policing as we know it must be abolished before it can be transformed. Abolish the police, refund the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I honestly am feeling a lot of emotions. I think because we have our police chief sitting in the corner on his phone, he's whispering to the person beside him, and I think that's very disrespectful. Aside from the fact you've shown blatant disrespect by going out and lying about the protests that have been happening in your city, you guys don't see that TPD's commenting on people's Instagram posts where there's clear videos of police aiming guns at them, but they want to comment despite the fabricated story, no gun was ever pointed at anybody. That's a lie. How many times are y'all allowed to get caught in your lies and people still support you? At the back, the Blue Rally, we had white supremacist signs flashed in our faces. We were called racial slurs. People spat at us. And instead of the police, TPD, getting in between and showing a neutral ground between us and them, they stood behind them. They escorted them to their cars. I was at a protest on June 3rd where we were peaceful the entire night. We asked to cross a bridge. We were lied to by the police, which is no surprise at this point. And they said, if you guys stay on the sidewalks, we will let you go across. We split up, and then in a mere matter of minutes, there was the whole, this has been ruled an unlawful protest. You have 3 minutes to disperse, and if you do not, other forces will be used against you. As we were trying to get back to our vehicles, TPD blocked off roads and routes, which they always do. I don't know why it's so hard to mind your business. If you're not for us, get out of our way. We're not hurting you. They blocked us off. They trapped us in a little courtyard, and I literally sat from my car. Thank God my car was there, because I would have been in jail. For what? We try to run away from you guys. We try to abide by your rules, and you are not listening to us. We're out here protesting. We're in the front of another civil rights movement. Another, might I add. 54 years ago, the Black Panther started. I'm sure a lot of y'all have at least 54 years under your belt, so if it's not bothering you to see history repeat itself, if it's not bothering you to see your grandchildren out here judged by the color of their skin, then I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you need to resign and walk out the door. We're not asking to be looked upon as the saviors of the world. We're asking to be looked upon as a generation that demands justice and equality for all. We don't need a police chief lying about what's going on. There's so many more videos that he even knows about. And you want to sit there in the corner on your phone? How much more disrespectful could you or your police officers be? Y'all want to talk about, oh, COVID. There was another Back the Blue rally outside of Tampa PD's headquarters. TPD actually came out and gathered with them and talked to them. Several people were not wearing masks. Do you think they got pepper sprayed? Did y'all see any rubber bullets flying? I didn't. That's the difference. We're not asking for y'all to do everything we say to do, which we are, but we know it's not gonna happen. So at least give us equality, because me, as well as my brothers and sisters behind me, outside and in this room behind me, we all have a legacy and we have a family, and we'll be damned if it's ever our blood on y'all's hands.
Okay. Board, we reserve the right to engage in commentary, or if there's anyone on the board that want to respond to any of the public comment portion. Hold on for where we have one more approaching the podium. Please state your name and continue your commentary.
My name is Connie Burton. I didn't plan to come to speak, but I'm so thankful that I'm here today
Because at 65, and being on the front line of what we knew what was happening in our community, and some of you all up there know what happened in the community, it went upon deaf ears. And so now we got a wonderful generation of young people that say no more. It was one killing too many. One killing too many. One time that the people that was in charge refused to listen to the cries of the people. And so some of you all up here, it's just like recyclable sitters. Won't do anything to speak in behalf of the community because you're always looking out for your own best interests. Always. And I'm talking especially to the black board members, because you know better. You know, when living in public housing, and we was talking about the brutality of the community, and we was talking about how they was conducting themselves unprofessionally, some of us got labeled as protecting drug dealers. And so now we have a sore that is festering all over the nation, and a little bit of ointment ain't gonna do it this time. It ain't gonna do it. Right now, in the community in which you sit on one of the boards in public housing, where people have a ton of charges, nonviolent charges, can't never see a future for themselves or their children. And y'all sit on these damn boards and don't open your mouth and don't advocate for the people. And so I wouldn't be calling for Dugan resignation before I call for Jane Castor's, because she has been the instrument behind all of it. 30 years as the police chief and now the mayor. And she still operates that police department. She does. She does. But I can tell you this, it ain't gonna be no peace in this city. It ain't gonna be no peace in America, because we have had 400 years of oppression. And this generation will not pass it on to their children. It's not gonna happen. So I would hope that you will find a way, I know you don't have any power, I'm talking to the mayor, that she find a way to redirect some of those funds. If other states have done it, other police chiefs, other mayors, our communities are being gentrified. You know it. Our young people in our community are without hope, and you know it, Reverend. And we expect you all, Carolyn Collins, the former president of NAACP, to do what you're supposed to have been done. Speak truth to power. That's your responsibility. That is your responsibility. We're not gonna be swayed back to sleep. We won't. We're getting geared up for the Super Bowl coming here. We plan on turning it all the way up until we see that y'all have accepted some of these meaningful resolutions to make some real changes in this city, and that's across the board. Ain't no more talking about our children from prison to pipeline. We don't want to hear that shit no more. We want to see our children move towards success.
Thank you, Sister Connie.
Hello. I was thinking I might come up here and start
You will
about how...
state your name?
I'd rather not state my name. I was going to come up here and start talking about how a clearly identified journalist with the Tampa Bay Times was assaulted and detained, hands tied behind her back, when she was clearly identified as a journalist, but I might not have time for that. I'd instead maybe like to talk about the use of chemical weapons against the citizens of Tampa for standing in a place that maybe they're not supposed to stand in, that an officer might want them to stand somewhere else. I've seen what these chemical weapons do to people, this pepper spray, this mace. You want to know the volume that comes out of these mace canisters? You can see it in the videos all over the internet where an officer sprays somebody for the grievous crime of filming them. The the volume of this mace comes out and it flows out in sheets over the camera lens. This douses people. I've seen what happens to people when they get doused with this stuff. They start shaking. They can't speak. They don't know what to do about the pain. I've seen people doused in this stuff. They look like wounded animals in their eyes. And this is being sprayed into people's eyes. Ophthalmologists agree that this pepper spray causes damage to the optic nerve. It causes permanent vision damage. And while we're at it, why don't we talk about these less lethal weapons that are shot out of shotguns at people at point-blank range in the head as they're running away. You can see online another journalist that got shot with one of these things in the leg. He had a 1-inch hole in his leg. A 1-inch hole in his leg. And that's being shot at people's heads, these less lethal weapons. That is the methodology that is used to move people from one place to another. With $163 million in the budget, bigger than any other budget item in the general fund. That is the best methodology that the police department can come up with to move people from one place to another. And Dugan over here on his phone, hanging out. I saw it in the Tampa Bay Times today. This guy has the nerve to say that he was upset that nobody seems to have the police department's back anymore. Nobody has our backs anymore. What crybaby nonsense! We pay $163 million, the largest portion of our taxpayer money that could be going to art programs, that could be going to affordable housing. No, instead that goes to the police department to dress up these riot cops like Darth Vader and shoot people in the face. And he has the nerve to sit here on his phone and say that we don't have his back. It's pathetic. It's a disgrace. It's a joke. I got nothing more to say.
Thank you for your commentary.
So I came up here and I told you $2.6 million just for body cams. $1 million of that money is private funding, and I want to know where's that coming from? Why don't I have accessibility to that information? The transparency, it's lacking, and I'm not understanding that. $1 million. Anybody know where that's coming from? Do you know where it's coming from, Chief Dugan? It's your budget. If you'd like to say something, I would totally yield my time to you.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'm asking. Does anybody have that information?
Anybody on the panel be able to answer that question?
That's
No,
a problem.
That's a problem.
That's a problem.
That's
$1 million from where? Do these people have special interest? Are these people in any way controlling our government that we don't have information on? That's a problem to me as a citizen, as a tax-paying citizen. Again, towards body cameras that nobody is using. And like that young lady, hold on, wasn't there? Like that young lady who came up here before said, y'all are pushing people out of their homes. I am seeing the remodeling of University Mall and how that's pushing out black folks to make white people feel more comfortable so they can come in and spend their money. Find another way to do it. Find another, I'm being like really serious. I'm seeing people lose their homes. That's not okay. Nobody has, like, I'm open for discussion. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not understanding why this is happening, and it's not something that just happened in the past couple months. This has been over 4 or 5 years now, where you are pushing people out of their homes and their communities. I don't know how much, pressure you all have in that area. I'm sure, like everybody said, y'all ain't got no power apparently, so we just coming up here speaking to nobody for nothing. But somebody, please, because I don't know how you could see members of your own community lose their homes, lose their jobs, lose their families, have nothing. I don't understand that. I yield my time.
Thank you for your commentary. That's going to conclude the public comment portion of this agenda.
Oh, I need to say something.
Go ahead, sir.
The NAACP ex-president, it's an honor to see you. It's disappointing to see you up here as well, okay? Because I don't understand all this funding for body cams. Listen, there's a school in Nebraska and Florida, I know they need some help. Instead of some police department who is nothing but corrupt. And the further thing is, how come every police officer is not required to have an education, a college education? I mean, it takes 8 years for a lawyer to get a lawyer degree. They come in our communities, talk to us, down to us like they know everything. They say really foul things to us all the time, like they know the law. But they don't know shit. They don't know nothing. I know more of the law than they do. It's disappointing to see black faces up here that they've put in place to make us think we ain't seen what we seen and heard what we heard. That's what's disappointing. They put you people up here as puppets. It's a joke. You guys are jokers. Rev, joke.
Okay. That's gonna conclude the public comment portion. I just want to make a comment.
Okay.
The people that's on this panel are volunteers. The people that's on this panel has the same passion for difference and equality and justice. We take time out of our everyday lives. I have a family. I have 2 black sons. I grew up in this city, born and raised. I still live in an urban community. My neighbors are urban. So I understand the frustration. I share that frustration. I joined this board to make a difference. Now, obviously, everyone wants to make a difference, and I applaud what you all are doing. I applaud it. I support it. We all are doing something. You're all doing what you all have to do, and we're going to do what we can. But we must work together to create a better change. Let's not create diversity within making a plan. Let's work together. And let's focus. We got a list of demands. This is the most tangible thing I received here this night. Okay? So let's work together.
I think you're right.
Chairman?
Okay, wait. I think to calm down.
One moment, Vice Chair.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that the private funding was a grant. I don't have all the information in front of me right now, but it was a grant that the police department applied for. That's how they're paying for part of these body cams, which was something to protect the community and the officers. There is no question about that.
Okay, we'll address that. But
One moment.
Wait a second.
Please, the person at the podium, please speak.
Yeah.
There is
okay.
recording.
So, my name is Candace Rojas Colucci, and I'll tell you the last time I was in this building, I was taking the Florida bar. So I am an attorney in this community, and I was born and raised in Tampa,
Good for
Florida.
you.
I practiced criminal defense for a long time. I still do it, and I also practice insurance law. So let me tell you what I went to law school and the things that I learned from a legal perspective. And I want to say thank you for your volunteering. And I hope that what will happen going forward is you will work with the community to make a difference. Because let me tell you what I've seen. I have seen the most driven youth ever. That's what are leading these protests. I mean, it was shocking for me to go out to these protests and realizing that they really were just teens being shot at, being pestered, being agitated. So this is what I'll tell you from a legal perspective of what I see, because I've done this law and I've seen it that way. There is something called qualified immunity, and I'm sure you guys know what that is. It is a doctrine that shields personal liability to an officer who violates a constitutional right. And let me tell you from a legal perspective what has changed. Every year that those cases go forward, the standard gets lower and lower and lower. So what they say a reasonable officer should be doing, it's even lower. They look at it now and say, well, if even the most pretty much inept officer would have done it, then it's okay. So what I've looked at it from is said, every single officer needs to have a body cam. I'm not gonna stand up here and tell you that you should defund police. And I'm not gonna tell you I wanna live in a world where there is not police officers. But I'll tell you, I don't wanna live in a world where police officers are not being held accountable for their actions. I have sat in courtrooms in this county, in surrounding counties, and have watched officers lie on the stand. If I get a criminal report affidavit, I can pretty much tell you if I find a video, it ain't going to match that report at all. So what I can tell you has made the difference, and I've said this before, we can't just say here, I want to be seen as equal. That my dark-skinned brothers and sisters want to be seen as equal, and you need to do that tomorrow. That's not going to happen tomorrow. But let us see that transition. And the only way for us to see it is to demand body cams on every single officer. And if they turn them off, if they obstruct them, it creates a rebuttable presumption that they have violated a constitutional right, which would now deplete their qualified immunity. As being part of the legal system, I know consequences are what deters behavior for everybody, for the individual, for the officers. And so that's what we need to see. We need to be able to see what takes place, because that's what's happening right now. These movements have all taken place, not because of what a defendant says or somebody who's lying there and his friends and family say. That's not what's made the difference here. The cameras have made those differences. So that's what I would empower all of you on this board to try to make an effort to say, not 600, because let me tell you what I know from a legal perspective dealing this criminal law. When you put some cameras out there on dash cam videos, let me tell you something. Every time something suspects happen, where's the dash cam video? I can give you tons of cases there, they don't exist. And a lot of times, I think the officers who are usually engaging that behavior aren't taking the cars that have them. So to say you're gonna put 600 out there when there's more than 1,000 of them isn't enough. To not have a consequence if they turn them on. Do you know how many dash cams videos and audios I get that get turned off? All the time. And there's no consequences for that behavior. If you have nothing to hide, let us all see it so we can see that change happen over time. That's what has to happen here. And when you start holding people individually responsible on both sides, then you'll see change. And that's what we've been about. And I hope that every single person on this board plays a role in that. And I do agree, everyone shouldn't be here just yelling at you. If you're saying that you're gonna make a difference, let's give it time, show us. Show us where you're doing that. Show us where you voted for something, where you've said something. Because this 8 can't wait and training, get out of here. They've been trained. They know not to crush somebody's neck, they know that. They know not to shoot first and ask questions later. They know to diffuse every situation. So the 8 can't wait, I ain't even about that. Because guess what? Those are all things you already knew about. It's the accountability that's not there. That's what's missing now. And to start throwing officers to the wind, that's not also it. We want accountability on all sides, for everybody. That's got to change. And it has to change now. Because these kids aren't going anywhere. And that's the thing I'll tell you. And let me tell you what, I have stood out there with them. I have felt their pain. I am multicolor. I am not a dark-skinned African American. And let me tell you, that's a difference in this world. And I'll never stand here and tell you that I know what it's like to go through what they have been through on a daily basis. And that fear is real. So what I just empower everyone to do is just shut up and listen. Just listen to them and believe them and say, guess what? We want to see a different future. We don't want cities to be burned down. We don't want anarchy. They just want change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question too, and it's gonna be real quick, but accountability has been the word of the night, right? And y'all are saying that y'all gonna do change and y'all are here to make change. And several people have came here and said that Chief Dugan is on his phone, he's whispering, he's not paying attention, yet none of you chose to speak up, pause, and address him about his disrespect, right? But we're holding each other accountable. Yet he's still being disrespectful in this room. And none of y'all have chose to Make him accountable of his actions. So how are we supposed to put our trust in you to make sure that you're going to hold him accountable when you're not even doing it right now in our face?
You want to speak about accountability? Let's, if you will, board, we can conclude in a 5-minute recess to regain order. We're going to continue.
Why
Chairman Nikhil.
are we doing that?
Well,
Chairman Nikhil.
there's no order.
Well,
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Now, here's the thing. And again, you know, I support the movement. I support what you all doing. But hold on, hear me out. That's the problem. That's the problem. You can't point the finger at someone else if your action's not correct. Now, we got a process here. This is a board, this is a panel, there's guidelines. Now, if we have to sit by the guidelines, then be an example of those guidelines and don't disrespect the platform that we have set here for you. You're disrespected by not being at the podium when you're speaking. You're disrespected by coming at the podium twice. We mentioned guidelines. Let's abide by them. Let's have order.
What guidelines are they abiding by, though?
Let's do things in due process so we can create change.
Wait, everybody.
Citizens Review Board.
Everybody.
And the citizens are asking to review.
Everybody. So you're telling us you need to enter a recess. Would you like to explain to the crowd what that recess entails so we are also involved in the process? You say you want us to follow the platform. We don't even know what the platform is. So if you could go ahead and just give us the rundown. Maybe you were going to get to it, but I'm giving you the floor again.
Let's go. It's on you, buddy.
So at this point, we're going to continue with the agenda. The public comment portion of the agenda
Hey,
is
sir,
concluded.
sir, I just
Chairman
please,
Nikhil.
man, I came down here, I'm messed up, I got shot twice.
Okay, sir.
Man, please.
Sir, if you will,
Thank you,
please.
sir. Check this out, man. First of all, my name is Farron Martin. It's nice to meet you today.
Thank you, sir.
What I come here to talk about is the disrespect that law enforcement has been giving us for years and years and years. But today, it's about Nina X. Marie, for real. See, what I'm talking about, the officer on the way he in the room? Oh. Oh, no, that's the chief on. But the gangbanger that came out the car with the gun pointed like that, y'all gotta get him off the force. He look like he in the gang. I don't look like no officer. He look like he in the gang. Gang. They ain't playing fair. And y'all want us to play fair. Y'all want us to abide by rules that's not being brought to us the right way. When he stopped that car, them 2 females in the car, me as an officer. Listen, me as an officer. Picture me as an officer. You can't do that, right? But picture me as an officer, right? I'm coming through. I'm observing. It's a stolen car. But there's 2 females in there. Man, I know they ain't on that. They ain't gang. I'm gang, so I know they ain't gang. I observe them, right? They pull into a driveway in the community. I know they ain't on too much unless they about to hop out and run in the house. I still don't pull my gun. They hopping out running in the house. Leave them alone. Unless I'm going to call back up and come. If I feel in fear of my life. I ain't finna pull the gun out first. I'm going to call back up. But instead, I'm definitely not going to hop out like I'm a gang member, man. That's threatening to them. To this day, she going to have PTSD about that. And you're going to sit around and allow it to keep happening. See, that's why we here today. We can't allow that to keep happening. See, the training that you think that these officers have, they come from the military right now. I know you gang. I'm up on you. A lot of them come from the military. No problem. But they got to be retrained, re-educated on how to conduct around civilians. See, they are trained right now for combat and to kill. When they come back over here, you have to retrain them, get their mindset right, they sight right, make sure they uphill right, and then you got to retrain them to deal with civilians. They can't go to war with us, no matter what. See, be real, you can't go to war with us, can you? You can't go to war with us. There ain't no way you can set in your mind right now, I'm finna go to war. We call them out here. We finna go to war. You can't do it. Ain't nothing you can do about that. The thing you gotta do is learn how to conduct yourself. Y'all want us to conduct ourselves right? Just like the young lady said. We finna give you the flow to tell us how we go about this the right way. And guess what? That give us time to reflect and be like, we gonna do it the right way because we want the right results. We want the right results, that's all. We don't want the negative, the positive, the okay, we want the right. What you standing for with that flag, all them flags back there, I don't know what all of them mean, but I'm just saying, what y'all standing on, we gotta stand on it. You stand for nothing, you fall for anything. We ain't falling for anything, partner. We out here. They ain't playing fair, man. All I want you to do, sir, you know what I'm saying? You gotta dumb yourself down now. You gotta like think about the young man. See, think about me. Young man gets shot in Roper Park. And guess what? I ain't no snitch or nothing. Ain't nothing about that, but guess what? Y'all ain't came and seen about me yet. 2-3 weeks straight. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who shot me, what I got shot with, where it came from. Y'all ain't give me no information about that. But I'm supposed to abide by y'all rules. I'm infuriated with y'all right now. I'm mad right now. I need some answers right now. But I can't get none. So how am I supposed to go by my daily life and respect y'all? Respect these badges. These badges don't give up about us, man. They don't care about us, man. Trust me. If they cared about us, man, guess what? It'll be more of them in here trying to listen. They wouldn't even be back there. They'll be up here, man. They'll be up here somewhere, you know what I'm saying, around the people, trying to hug somebody or something, man. Trying to say I'm sorry a little bit, man. Hold on, man, we ain't mean it. You know what I'm saying? But it ain't like that, man. And I'm just telling you, they ain't playing fair. So you gotta put a plan of action together against your officers, man. That officer that came out with that gun, he needs some real discipline. Real discipline. You gotta go and talk to him. Let him know that ain't right. We ain't gang. Know what I'm saying? Because he came out like a gang member. Go look at the footage. I ain't lying. I bet you ain't trained to hold your gun like this. Who trained to hold their gun like this? Tell me. If I'm wrong, straighten me right now. Real talk, you ain't trained to roll, to handle like this. You train upright. I'm finna put my, make sure I'm on you. Right then and there, he could have hit anybody. Know what I'm saying? He like this now. You gotta know what I'm saying? We gotta find a way. We gotta find a way, man. A mutual ground. Everybody wanna be heard. Everybody don't wanna listen though. Everybody wanna be heard. But everybody don't wanna listen. Know what I'm saying? Man, I'm just here to feed the family, dog. Feed the family, free the family for the future, man. Your future is our future. Our future is your future. Bottom line, man. However you think you want to live in the near future, you got to depend on us. You got to come see me, man. When you want me, I'm in a wheelchair now, right? When you get in that wheelchair, you got to come see me. You got to come see sis. One of these sisters out here, because they in the nursing field somewhere. Somebody out here in the nursing field. You got to come see them. So you got to protect us now, so we can be able to get to that point. That's all I'm saying, man. Find some common ground with us, man. We love y'all too. You don't think that? What you think, we just haters? We don't haters. We want some understanding. Know what I'm saying? Real understanding. Let us know what's going on. Hey, boss man, you listening to me? You locked in? Probably not. You locked in now, no, man? You locked in? I see you engaged, though. I ain't gonna lie to you. What's your name, partner?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Steve.
Steve, you engaged, man. I hope you make something happen, man. Make something happen. Don't just make the world great again. Make America great again. Make us great again. Get us great again, man. Know what I'm saying? Make a change, baby. I love y'all, though, man. FTF 1432, man. Make sure y'all get at Nina Time Marie, because this is what we hear about, man. We got to clean this situation up. That officer, he got to go down bad, and we got to find out what's really going on. We got to find out what's really going on. He might need a hug or something. We don't know. We need to find out what's going on, though. For real, man.
Thank you, sir.
For real. Love y'all, man. Black lives matter. All lives matter. We in this together, man.
If you will, Dr. Collins.
Hello, my name is Brooke. I've lived in Tampa for 24 years. Before anything else, I want to just say a few names that are still seeking justice right now. Jonas Joseph, Andrew Joseph III, Carl Norton Jr. I've lived in Tampa for 24 years, and as you can see, I'm white, and I've never run into trouble with the police up until this month. I would participate in a protest 2 years ago, the March for Our Lives protest, and that was completely peaceful. I didn't see a single police officer. And the moment I stand up for Black lives, I get arrested. I was in the protest on June 2nd, when I was arrested with 67, 68 other people. And during that time, we were told to get on the ground after doing nothing. And that's been reflected by Andrew Warren's statement, that there was no evidence that we did anything. We were told to get on the ground, and they continued to fire tear gas and rubber bullets at us. I got pepper sprayed so bad I couldn't see. I was in agony for hours. I had my hands bound behind my back, so I couldn't wipe my face at all. And during all this, when I was taken to the police station, they told me to take my mask off, or they took my mask off for me because I couldn't do it. They took all of our masks off. And I think you guys need to look at this procedure, because right now COVID is spiking a lot in Hillsborough County. And you can't keep on taking people's masks off, especially peaceful protesters who are doing nothing wrong. In addition, the police officers, I just want to repeat that they lied about what we were doing. Like Tim said, there was buckets of rocks. I never saw a single rock. I've never seen a rock like that in my life. I don't know where people were apparently getting these. Anyways, I wanted to just conclude because I don't want to just repeat too much. I want to sort of keep to the novel statements. Chief Dugan released a statement in the Times yesterday, and he said something about, we can't win. And Chief Dugan, I want to tell you, you're right. You can't win. We're not going to stop until we see some actual change. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tim, aka Timmy Two Turn. She just mentioned me. I think we all want to hear what Chief Dugan has to say. But listen,
Sir.
hold on, listen. Everyone in this room knows that if he comes up here and talks, the only two words that can come out of his mouth that will satisfy us are I quit.
Dr. Collins.
Excuse me, yes.
Dr. Collins.
If we've concluded the public, if we've,
I won't be long. Y'all got time for one more?
one more,
Well, okay, bet. Look,
one more.
I respect everybody that's up here right now, but I'm gonna leave y'all with a quote today, all right? My mom said this quote. Everybody wants to be black until it's time to be black. You hear me? Y'all want change so much. Everybody wants to be black until it's time to be black, right? Tampa Police Department has been funding so much money, but I'm gonna leave y'all with another question. Where's the Boys and Girls Clubs at? What y'all doing for the community? Y'all want to fund this much into people that's hurt in our community, but where's the money going back to the community? Where's the Boys and Girls Club at? That's it. That's my time. That's it. Thank you.
There is an agenda, and on today's
know, I'm
agenda,
sorry.
on today's agenda, Chief Dugan will have his opportunity to approach the podium, discuss police matters and
No,
greater
we're gonna follow the
concerns
agenda.
of the community. So, at this point, we're going to
You
conclude
need 5 minutes?
the public comment portion of the meeting. We have a full agenda that needs to be discussed.
It would take
And
literally
I-
30 seconds of your time.
I really appreciate the
Literally 30
commentary.
seconds of your time, sir.
Look here.
I was just gonna say that I agree with the young lady that recently came up here speaking on behalf of March for Their Lives, because I was one of the speakers there. And as many people have pointed out, you were the former president of the NAACP. That's great. I was in the NAACP Youth Council, and currently I'm the chair for the NAACP for the state of Florida as the Criminal Justice Action Chair. So, let's get into it. For me personally, it's very intriguing to see how you can compare two events. March for Our Lives brought out like the same amount of people that these protests do every single week, and no one was arrested like she just stated, and yet I have been tear gassed for the first time in my life for fighting for it. And so when we come in this room and there's a flyer posted with Jane Castor's face on it, and it's being posted everywhere, and everyone's thinking they're finally getting the chance to speak to the person that can invoke real change within our community, she has the nerve to not be here. And then you try to tell us we are not allowed to speak, but if you are all volunteering to be here and help us, hear us out. There's nothing wrong if the agenda goes off the books and we get to say what we need to say. And that's all I had to say. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna say this, the recorder has requested, and I'm saying this to the chair, 5 minutes, and that's why we're going to, she's asking for a 5 minutes break. She is the recorder and she needs that. The agenda will go on. I appreciate all you guys for being here. We've never had anyone come before us. We do enjoy listening to you because we're listening to what your concerns are, but we're gonna ask you to allow the chair to call this 5 minute break for our recorder. We're going to continue. We are going to follow the agenda, and if there's need for public comments, and then a couple of us on the board want to make some comments as well. Yes, I do. I am the former president of the NAACP and functioned with it for 42 years in this community. And if there's a question, ask me, and I think I've heard a few. I think we'd like to hear what you say, and then we'd like to follow our agenda and ask you to stay and listen to the agenda as well. Many of you have made some very positive comments. So I'm asking for a 5 minute break for the recorder.
Like, can we keep going with?
I'm not too sure how many more people, but he had called several times. The chair, he has called for the end of public comments. I think if you come up, and I understand people who say they didn't want to give their names for whatever reason, but if you give your name and you speak once, he's asked that you yield to the other individuals who would like to speak, and if we could let those individuals, I think the chair has been extremely supportive by letting individuals come up with comments and continue. He's done well. Our timekeeper, I've been keeping time too, and I'm sure some people kind of may have gone over, and she's alluded to that. I don't think we do not want to hear. I think we are pleased to hear. We know what's been going on in this city, but I want to just say at this point, 5 minutes, please, for the recorder.
Yeah, 5 minutes for the
If you will. Thank you. The meeting's in a 5 minute recess. The 5-minute recess has been concluded. Please, everyone, take a moment to respect social distancing. Please take your seats. If you will. If you will.
Just keep going.
Order, order. Order, please. We have concluded the 5-minute recess. If you will, please respect social distancing. Please take a seat. A lot of the commentary stated that individuals. Oh, excuse me. Let's continue with the roll call prior to getting back on the agenda.
Banks,
Present.
Collins,
Present.
Simmons,
Present.
Tamayo,
Present.
Reyes,
Present.
Guy,
Present.
Akil,
Present.
Blair,
Present.
and Gendala.
Present.
Thank you, Ms. Mercer. So in the public comment portion, there was a lot of commentary stating that we weren't listening, that we do not hear you. So I want to take this opportunity to give everyone the opportunity to be heard. Like you all mentioned, some of you, I was a challenge getting here. I witnessed crutches and wheelchairs. So I'm going to take this opportunity today and allow you to approach the podium, allow your voice to be heard. And what we will do, we will table this agenda to a different meeting date. We'll table this agenda to a different meeting date and allow.
Wait a minute, if you
Well-
table the agenda, then they won't hear from him.
Well-
I need to ask a comment before you table
If
the
you will,
agenda.
Dr. Collins.
There were a number of people that had an opportunity to speak and
Please, order.
And we requested this June meeting because we could not meet in May, which our regular meeting, and we have a meeting scheduled for July. In the July meeting, we have asked for some very specific items to develop an agenda from our chair and vice chair. What I would like to hear, I don't have a problem if we table the annual report, but there are some things that we need to do as a board. Someone just asked me a really good question on break. And are you guys city council? Who are you, what you are? And I want to make sure that those who have not had an opportunity to speak, that they get their 2 or 3 minutes. And then as a board, if there's something that we need to say, that we will say it while they're here. And then we go and develop the July agenda. There are some things that we could put on the back burner, but we need to make sure we know where we're going next month, based on many of the comments that we heard. And I don't want us to just debate the whole agenda. I know that there are some things that we could put aside under G, but there are some other things that, to me, are very pertinent that we deal with, particularly during these times.
And anyone else want to comment on Dr. Collins' suggestion? I'm definitely open to Dr. Collins' suggestion. We need to establish an agenda for next month, if you will. Ms. Guy?
Yeah, Ms. Collins, I'm not really sure what you're asking for.
I think the chair asked that we abate the agenda. If individuals have spoken under public comment and everyone has had an opportunity to speak, at least once, if there's someone out there that have not had that opportunity, I think it's okay for us to move forward and allow them to have their comments. If after everyone get their comments in, there need to be a couple of things that we need to do as it relates to our agenda. And personally, because my name was called, there are comments that I'd like to make, but I would rather hear them first. I mean, we haven't had the opportunity to have individuals come before us and express themselves, but they need to know who they're expressing themselves and how to channel their concerns if we're going to say we're going to follow through with it.
He was an invited guest.
So everyone is on board in reference to making some changes to the current agenda, allowing the extension of public comment for those who did not have the opportunity to speak, and those who are going to support the meeting guideline to have the opportunity to approach the podium and share with us insight on how to move forward. And then from there, we'll continue with items F, Community and Tampa Police Department matters, bullet point 1.
Well, I think we said we
What,
wanted
no?
to table bullet point 1.
Yeah, I don't mind us
and
tabling
table
bullet
G.
point 1.
The only thing that I would add is.
If you will, Ms. Simmons.
Yeah, I think we should definitely continue to listen. I mean, this is the most people we've ever had at our meeting. So I want to hear what they have to say. But I do think that we need to limit it to people we have not heard from yet tonight and not allow repeat speakers so that we can hear from everyone who would like to speak. And then I do think it's important that we discuss bullet point number 2 so that we can have a fruitful meeting in July. We call this emergency meeting based on everything that's going on. And I want to hear from the public, but I also want to make sure that we have enough meat to have a meaningful meeting when Chief Dugan and Mayor Castor come back in July.
Agreed. Do we need a motion to,
Yes.
yes? Do we need?
I move to accept Ms. Simmons'
So a motion
that's
is
what the-
made by Dr. Collins and Ms. Simmons. Ms. Guy has second, moved the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Reeves has seconded the motion to change the agenda to fit today's format. If you will, we're going to continue the public comment portion. Again, if you had the opportunity to speak, please allow others who did not have that opportunity. And if you will, when you do approach the podium, please channel your dialogue to the panel.
And I would ask that they
Chairman
Please.
Akil?
look at,
Please.
disperse themselves a
Chairman
little
Akil?
bit.
Yes, if you will.
Did we
Mr.
invite,
Tamayo?
did we invite the Tampa Police Department to present subsection 2? The report on the use of force? Did we invite the police department to come here today to present on use of force?
We asked for discussion on this.
And their reaction to the protest?
That's correct.
Then we need to hear from them as well tonight. No, and we also need to hear, our fellow citizens have come here to give their voice, and we need to listen to their voice as long as it takes.
So there is a motion on the table. We can participate in the vote on the motion to extend public comment and table item 1, F1.
Can I make a substitute motion?
And G.
Can we,
F1
the
and G.
substitute motion will be that we will extend public comments. We will move F1. We will move G1. We will hear from CRB board members, and then we will conclude the meeting.
The motion on the table, the substitute motion that's on the table.
If you would
outlines
add
the
that as a
agenda.
friendly reminder, that would be more specific, and it doesn't need to be a substitute. If you can accept that, Board Member Guy.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's accepted that, that's
Yes,
fine.
I accept that change in the motion. So again, the motion on the table is to amend the current agenda to continue the public comment portion. In addition, continue with the exclusion of F1, item F1, and also item G1. And we'll continue the agenda as formatted.
With the
With the
understanding
comments
that, with the
from the board.
understanding that F2 includes a
Yeah,
response from TPD.
F2 is, yeah, and that's what they're asking for.
Right,
And that's what
which
F2
includes
is.
F2 on the
Mhm.
current
TPD's
agenda.
And I just want to make sure
response
we
includes
make comments
And the
on the
police
G.
department's willing to be here and speak
Yeah,
about it.
right.
Yeah,
That's a
Okay.
part of F2. Right.
but I think we need the names and please.
And Chair,
and
new
the
speakers.
time limit.
Not repeat speakers.
Yeah, and no repeats.
Yes. So, let's continue with, do I have a second? on the-
No, you had she accepted my friendly amendment, so we had a second, we can move with from there.
We can vote.
Yeah, I move
Okay.
to accept Ms. Collins' friendly amendment, and then I'm going to say that we need to vote, which is part of this process.
Okay. All those in favor of the newly amended agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion passes. So we're going to continue the public comment portion, especially for
repeat
those who
speakers.
did not have the opportunity to speak of just yet. And again, please address your dialogue to the panel. Let's keep it respectful as well, as much as possible. I know there's a lot of passion in the room, that's great.
And we would like
But
to get their
let's ensure
names.
that your voice is heard, and let's ensure that we don't step on any others in doing so.
We'd like to hear their names, please.
Let's go ahead and continue. If you will.
Excuse me, sir, have you already spoken?
He has.
That's why
No,
I said
so-
that you asked us to
I-
give them their name. We got
He
their
did
name.
speak.
With all respect.
Excuse me,
With
Chair.
all respect.
Excuse, one moment. Mike Schmidt?
Yeah, Chair, if we could we have, after this gentleman speaks, could you mind giving a few minutes to Chief Dugan?
In reference to approaching the podium? In reference to approaching, excuse me, order.
We need to ask them if they were spread out, so we,
Can
we
you
don't want
elaborate?
nobody getting
Um,
sick.
Yeah, we're just asking for a few minutes for him to address the citizens and the board.
Okay. I believe they want to hear from Chief
Especially he's
Dugan.
already spoken,
So
so
be
we
it.
hear from Chief now.
If you will, sir, state your name, continue with your commentary, and we'll have Chief Dugan approach the podium.
Chief Dugan is F2 on the agenda, which is what we agreed to agree with. So if you complete the public comment and don't let nobody repeat, then
continue
Chief
with-
Dugan would be
Right,
coming
we'll
up
continue.
anyway.
So if you will, state your name and continue with your commentary.
If he's already spoke, he shouldn't be speaking again.
He's already spoken.
I would not like to put my name out, but first of all, first and foremost, I've been handed this leaflet as we was here in this 5-minute recess, and this leaflet simply says, "A message from Chief Dugan." And in this message from Chief Dugan says, "We aim to provide quality services in a professional manner." Another thing that says in there, while treating every person we encounter with dignity and respect. Another thing in here that has been given to me by this leaflet, the complaints will be investigated by members of Professional Standards Bureau or directed to a district investigator, which is one of their people. Nice. And then in the back, it has the audacity to say emergency dial 911 in red. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid to put that number in my phone. Every single person in this room and is outside that y'all don't let in here is afraid to put this number in this phone. Everyone is afraid to call them because they might be the target. We are afraid of these people. We don't trust them. They're supposed to be public servants. We are the public. How is the public afraid of their servants? How are they going to serve the community when none of them are a part of our community? I just would like to say, and I would like you to consider this, is to have us be a part of what they have going on. Whatever investigations they have going on should be public. Whatever complaint, as soon as it's addressed, should be public and should be investigated by our community. They should be investigated by our community. Before they can have a badge, they should go through us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else wish to approach?
No, it's gonna be after he speaks, it won't be no more.
What? We are currently in the public comment portion of the agenda. We extended that portion to answer to the call, of voices to be heard.
All right, all right.
So in good gesture, we voted upon doing so. So right now, we're in the public comment portion. If there's anyone else that has not had the opportunity
I want to say something real quick.
to approach the podium,
Real quick.
please take advantage of that time frame now.
Real quick. Hey, can the young lady Nina Marie come back in here while the police is here? Because she really want to talk to the police. She wasn't in. The police wasn't here yet when she came. Can the police, one of the police people over here, ma'am, can you help me out with this one? Nina Marie, can y'all go get her? Because she really want y'all to hear, because she went through it with y'all. Know what I'm saying? She ain't go through it with y'all.
We're currently in the public comment portion. If she
I know
wished,
that.
if she
Yeah.
wished to
She
speak,
out there. She need to come in. They want this.
But
What
you
this
know what,
about?
if
This
they
why
would
I'm here.
take the
This
seats,
why I'm
then
wearing
they
this
should
shirt.
let her in, but they
I'm
won't
here
take
because
the
Nina
seats.
Marie.
so we are practicing social distancing, and
I get out.
that's why
Somebody
we
get out for
have
her.
the number of seats.
Somebody just left for her. Somebody just left.
She already spoke.
Man,
She's
listen,
already
this
spoke.
bot.
She did
The
speak.
police wasn't here yet, man. The
Yeah, they
police
were.
wasn't here yet.
Okay.
I spoke again.
Okay,
She
allow
spoke
her to
again.
come in.
Okay.
Allow her to speak.
Can somebody go get her, please?
Let her speak again.
All right, now I'm gone. I'm gone. Thank you. I'm gone.
Go get her.
I'm not gonna say my name, but a request to Chief Dugan back there. Huh? Okay. Don't lie to us when you come up here, please. That's just a simple request. I said, don't lie to us when you come up here. Thank you.
My name is Amaya, and I just want to say that the police brutality issue will not stop until the police is defunded and eventually abolished. While police reforms are great and do have the potential to lower police brutality rates, they will not get rid of the inherent racial bias that the police has. This is an attack on the police as an individual, but as a system. The police as a system are historically racist, as the origins of the police force in the United States stems from slave patrols that were originally established around 300 years ago. Although that may seem like a long time ago, the role of the police is still influenced by the role of the slave patrols. They still have the same jobs, helping maintain economic order and serving the wealthy elite white upper-class Americans, and facilitating and upholding systemic racism. This explains how only 30% of black people trust police, compared to 77% of white people. This isn't because of the false assumption that black people are more likely to commit crimes, but because of the historical relationship that black people have had with the police for hundreds of years. Black people are incarcerated at more than 5 times the rate of white people and are 3 times more likely to be killed by the police. While it is easier to argue that that reasoning behind this is due to the fault of black people, the actual reasoning behind this is because police have never served and protected black people in our communities. While reforms seem like they can provide a solution, they really only serve as a band-aid of the problem of white supremacy and systemic racism, and this is something that the police play a big part in upholding. Reforms are just a temporary solution to a bigger problem, and many times they aren't properly implemented. Florida police officers were supposed to be required to wear body cameras since 2016. You have not seen a single officer from the Tampa Police Department wear a body camera, even after a budget of more than $2 million was put aside just for supplying and implementing body cameras for Tampa PD. Even if body cameras were properly enforced, police officers could easily turn them off, and even if they do not, they would still be protected by the police union if they were to commit any unlawful crimes. The 3 police officers that murdered Breonna Taylor still have not been arrested and charged accordingly because they are protected by police unions. The police have way too much power and too much protection. We don't need a man with a gun to show up to resolve a car accident or a road safety issue. We don't need a man with a gun to show up to deal with a sexual assault victim, especially if they're not going to take the victim's plea seriously, just like they did with Toyin Salou, which ultimately resulted in her death. We don't need more police presence in school, as that facilitates a school-to-prison pipeline. I spoke with Jane Castor this Monday, and when we spoke about police brutality and defunding the police, she mentioned black-on-black crime and told us that we need to take the focus away from law enforcement because they aren't the issue. Yet they are the ones that are killing us because of the color of our skin. They are the ones that are brutalizing peaceful protesters who are just chanting that their lives matter. I am worried every single day for my black brothers and my black friends because the police can kill them for something as simple as a traffic stop. How is that not an issue? Jane Castor agreed that systemic racism is a problem, but what is she, as well as all of you guys, going to do to fix systemic racism?
Thank you.
Hi. I actually came here to speak to Mayor Jane Castor. I went to Clearwater at a protest that her name was on. I drove all the way there to speak to Mayor Jane Castor. She was not there, and she's not here either. And you're telling us to direct our energy at you guys. And the thing is, I'm telling y'all, we have been communicating because we've been communicating for weeks. We've been communicating for years. A lot of the stuff that we're bringing up, y'all have been aware of. And you're asking us to trust that y'all are gonna take what we're saying and change the world. But y'all have been in positions for years. Years. I'm telling you. Mayor Jane Castor told Charlie Frago, a reporter for the Tampa Bay Times, that she has no intention of defunding the Tampa Police Department. Is that why y'all are here? When asked if the Tampa Police Department needs reform, her response was that the police department needs to improve its communication with its residents. But yet, majority of this, we've been asking to speak to someone, and they haven't spoke the entire time. My heart is literally, for the past couple weeks, has been breaking. I've cried. I've literally been paralyzed because I've learned about these names. And it's not George Floyd, it's not Breonna Taylor. It's thousands of names. Thousands. I'm tired of people dying. I'm tired of Black lives being murdered. Black lives are being taken in their home. Botham Jean, Breonna Taylor. Black lives are being taken over routine traffic stops. Miguel Espinal, Sandra Bland. Black lives are taken for being a good citizen. Betty Jones. Black lives are being taken for being homeless. Anna Brown. Black lives are taken for being who they are. Tony McDade, Nina Pop, Dominique Phelps. Black lives are being taken for having a mental illness. Kevin Matthews, Michael Noel, Roy Nelson, Michael Marshall. Black lives are being taken after being declared unarmed and handcuffed. Alonzo Smith, Jamar Clark, Anthony Ashford, Black lives are taken 5 times more than any other race during an encounter with a police officer. So when we talk about reform, how do you teach people to value my life, my brother's life, your life? Police stand in groups because it takes a group of them to carry their guilt. They remain silent because to acknowledge Black Lives Matter is to face the demons within their system. A police system that everyone has told y'all stems from slave patrol. We're asking questions. We're educating ourselves. And I promise you we're gonna be on these boards. And we are going to change because we've been waiting. And what should be on the agenda is the solutions people have been providing. Because they're providing it for you. So many people you've heard so many things from so many different people. People that may or may not have an educational background. People who have been abused over and over again. We are waking up. And it doesn't take going to school. It doesn't take anything. It doesn't take these positions to care about your life, about who you are and your people. And the fact that we have to stand here and demand that you do, I don't think anyone deserves their position, because we've lost the idea, the goal. Because if you could sit up there, or anyone could sit in a position and say, yes, I've been successful at my job, and people are literally telling you that we're dying, that we're tired of dying. We've been abused by not just this system, and we're asking you to reallocate funding to help us improve our environment. And the main problem of the environment is the people who are there, who have been instilled and deliberately positioned to make sure we don't evolve, to make sure we don't live together. Y'all separate us. They separate us. So when Chief comes up here and talks, I want to know what you're going to do, to help change and create a better world. Because this isn't a world that has been built on love. We built it. We were forced to. It hasn't been built on love. It was been built on hate. And that starts with dismantling the very system that enforces it. Come on. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Dugan.
Good evening. I want to thank the review board for your service to our city. I think it's sad that George Floyd had to get murdered before we could get anyone to come to these meetings. How many? Okay, wait a minute. So I sat there and listened to you, but now you don't want to stand there and listen to me.
Let's be respectful. Order.
But I never interrupted you.
Order, 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 order.
But that's our problem in this country right now. We're not listening to each other. Right? When J.T. Brown for the Tampa Bay Lightning raised a fist, we criticized him and called him militant. When Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson took a knee, we said they were unpatriotic, and we criticized them for it. That's how we ended up in this situation, because no one wants to listen to each other in this country. You're angry, I get it. And when you calm down and you're willing to have open dialogue, I will continue to listen to you.
Order, order, order,
Pardon me, if you guys want
Order,
to hear the
order.
chief, you're gonna have to
Order.
listen,
Y'all came here to
or
hear
we
the
will
chief.
move the agenda to the other areas that we wanted to ask the chief to talk about.
So what I am doing is creating a citizens advisory group where I will have people that will sit down and have open dialogue. And you'll be able to apply for that through our customer service center. You just go right on and tell them that you want to be part of the Chief Citizens Advisory Group. And we will sit down and we will listen. It's obvious that law enforcement and the Tampa Police Department, we need to change the way we are policing. But we have to do it through an open, constructive dialogue. And if you just want to criticize, then you can't be part of the change. It's a two-way process. Communication is you talk and you listen. It's a two-way process.
Order, order, order.
You literally are blaming us for your lack of inaction. That's what you're doing. You're
I have,
saying,
how did I blame
here's
you?
what we
What did I blame you for? What did I blame you
did
for?
not act. That's what you are.
Did not act what?
We have not showed up. We are being violent.
Come
We
on,
need
you
to
gotta get
talk to you
control of
about
yourself.
this. What you're saying. How about you talk about what you're doing? Stop telling us
I just-
what we're doing.
Order, 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 order. Order, respect the podium.
You know, the purpose of this opportunity is to hear from the chief. If you're not going to listen to the chief, then we need to move the agenda. There are some things we've asked the chief to share with us so we can prepare for next month's meeting. We can ask him to look at some of those items, but when the chief is speaking, regardless of what he was doing when you guys were speaking, it's so important that you go ahead and let the chief talk. Then if you want to ask a question, or we want to ask a question, we can ask that question, but we do need to listen to hear what the chief is saying. And I'm not the chair, and please, chair, please forgive me, but he's hitting the gavel and you guys are not listening, and therefore we can't do anything constructive. So let's listen to the chief, and then we can make comments, but you must allow him to say whatever he's saying, and then be analytical and critique it.
So like I said earlier, we're going to start this citizens advisory group. And I'm going to be able to sit down and listen to people and have constructive dialogue to figure out how we're going to move forward as a department. And it's going to be an ongoing council, an ongoing group, I should say, where I can sit and get feedback from people in the community that have concerns that can represent different factors of our community. Not just one, but throughout the entire city of Tampa. And that is one of the things that I'm going to do to change, to help fix this. But I can't do it alone. I can't do it without you.
Let him talk.
And we are making a variety of changes to our policies, and some of this stuff is ongoing, and it's not going to happen overnight. So again, I thank the board for your service to our community. I know you volunteer, and I really appreciate all that you do for us, and thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to tell you right now what we want. We have an agenda, and if you guys have not seen the agenda was to try to plan for a meeting in July 2020 to invite the TPD chief, Mayor Castor, and others, and it reads on here, as needed to discuss police reform, including hiring, training, and et cetera. We have other questions that we have asked, and since I'm speaking now, let me answer a couple of questions that was asked. My name is Carolyn Collins. I am on the board. This board is not quite 5 years old yet, so we haven't been here a very long time. We were appointed for one reason. We were appointed because the NAACP that I served on for more than 42 years, I think it was 46, under multiple presidents, that NAACP had a meeting in Las Vegas, Nevada, when I was the president. We went to Las Vegas. They indicated at that time, with everyone that they had there, that we needed to go back home to our cities, and we needed to make sure that every president that was there from across the United States and abroad go back and talk to your mayor to create a citizen review board. I came back to Tampa. I met with Mayor Bob Buckhorn. I gave him the pamphlet that we received, 21st Century Policing, community policing, and everything. And I said, we've got to go in this direction in this city. The mayor created this. There was friction, if you guys ever remember, between both the city council and the mayor, because the city council apparently had heard the same and was trying to create the same board. As a result of it, the mayor had put all his, I guess, dotted his I's and crossed his T's, had his state information in place, his city information, and thus there was a creation of this board. I didn't cause it to be created. I'm not even owning up to it. I'm giving the credit to the national NAACP. I was only the president at the Hillsborough County branch. Once that board was formed, I applied to sit on this board to try to make a difference in this community. About a year after the board was formed, I have a document here that's dated July of 2016. And much in that document is referring to much of what you guys have said today. So don't assume that all of us sitting across here and those individuals who was here to be honored because they are no longer on the board, who yield to you guys and say, put that on the agenda later, I'm going to leave because they need to be heard. You see, I didn't start working for the city of Tampa last week. I didn't start working for the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County, the state of Florida, last year. I've been doing this since I left Blake around 1965. So, you know, all of us up here have been working in our own respective ways. We are all concerned about the recent killing, and not just bodies like Mr. Floyd or Mrs. Taylor and Mr. Aubrey. We are also concerned because COVID-19 that have embarked upon this United States of America have taken as many of us out as anything else have taken because of disparate treatment in housing, in economics, in education, in food, in homelessness. So we know the story up here. We are very aware of the story. And we've been here with no one coming. I want to say one thing clearly. We don't have the power perhaps of the city council, but we have the power of an ordinance, and we have a power of whatever state statute we have. We created a method so that when people have problems, and I wrote the young lady name down that you guys want to come back up and speak. If we have had a whole lot of problems, is it Tina Marie? If we've had a whole lot of problems when you guys have had during this protest that our community has suffered, and you have a problem, fill out the form. Have the complaint read before fill out the form, turn it into internal affairs, and come right back here to this mic and give it to us. That's what other individuals have done. And when they come and they bring it back here, we tell them, when you guys complete the investigation, bring it back to us. And that's the way we address the concerns and problems of the community. Do we have some concerns that we want to see change? I think the attorney who spoke, the lawyer, I agree. I'm not willing to defund police, but I think it needs to be strictly restructured. There need to be a restructure. I think that if the world, the United States, would stop saying defund, we'll see more of what's happening in Minneapolis with Mr. Arredondo. Mr. Arredondo happened to have been with the NAACP here in Tampa, his relative. So there are people who want to see things done, and there are people who are working all over and been working. So that's my biggest concern. Yeah, we're concerned about eliminating qualified immunity. These are things that we had to bring up today, but you guys have said them. Do we want to have, other powers of this board? We might have to do a petition. We have to go to the Supreme Court for the state of Florida. It's so imperative and important that we vet, that we research, and we really figure out what's going on, and then we address those issues. But don't dare think that the individuals that have been sitting up here on this board has not had a special interest in making sure that things are done right in this community. We just haven't had the support of the community here. And we appreciate every one of you came here tonight. We appreciate everything that you said, and no, it did not fall on deaf ears. We listened.
Thank you, Dr. Collins.
Thank you, Dr. Collins.
Anyone else on the board?
Yes,
would
Mr.
like to-
Chairman, let me take this opportunity to thank all of you for being here tonight. This is a tremendous visual of what can happen when our voices are brought together to let our concerns be heard. As has been indicated earlier, this is the first time we've had this many people present. And the fact that you're doing what you're doing is tremendous because it puts pressure on those who are in position who make policy decisions to know that enough is enough and we're not going to take the status quo anymore. But one of the things I would like to encourage you to do, all of us to do, is to make sure our voices are heard on November 3rd, because the people that are in authority and positions are the ones that make policy decisions. And if the people that are currently in position are making decisions that we don't like or that don't meet the needs of our communities, then we need to make sure we work hard to put people in place who will be sensitive to our needs. And so this is a good start. We want to keep this momentum going so that we can take this same momentum to the polls. But in the meantime, whatever power that we have as a board to make our community better, please be sure that we make that commitment to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Banks.
And if I could just ditto with Reverend Banks, don't just stop in November. And I've said this, I've sent it to MSNBC and CNN. I think one of our biggest problems is we wait to go to the polls for general election in November. There's a primary in August. We need to vote because sometimes what you're voting for, it get lost in August because you didn't go to the primary. And in addition to that, this is our census year. Get count, stand up and be counted. Hear what Dr. Banks said. Dr. Reverend Banks just said we need to vote. We need to register, we need to vote, we need to carry someone else out there to vote, and you put people in office to make the changes that you want in your community. I'm so pleased with the mother who actually decided to run, and she's the first black mayor because her son got killed and she's tried to stand up and be counted. Please, folks, register, get other people registered, get them out to vote. Make sure you vet your candidates. And don't wait till November. You got to do it in the primary, go to November, and then make sure you get counted in the census. That's where we lose out a whole lot of money because we don't stop to get counted. It's a whole lot we need to do, and we need to do it together.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Anyone else on the board would like to add any commentary before we continue with the agenda? Hearing none, we'll allow you to respond to the commentary that took place on the panel.
Thank you so much. So like
welcome.
I came up to Miss Carolyn Collins, correct? You all told us to listen to him. I was trying to listen. I know some people's getting rowdy. It is what it is. But I feel like that action is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I had a genuine question to ask him. And he leaves the room. You know what I mean? Like, those types of things are what we're fighting against. If you want to tell me that you want to open dialogue, and I was more than willing to give you the chance right there in your face, and you like turn away from me, I think that's highly problematic and something, again, I don't know how much power you all have over that type of stuff if he comes back, but I'm saying if he's gonna come back, and people are gonna come out here and wanna have these dialogues and these conversations, and like, stuff like that can't happen. That's not conducive to dialogue. And I also wanted to address the point that you made about not wanting to defund the police. No one's just pulling this out of a hat, like, hey, defund them. Like, there's revolutionary text that this is built upon. Like, the works of Angela Davis clearly spell out a world in which there are no police. And I am imploring all of you, as individuals who I can tell are bright and motivated and more than capable of understanding this, to go out there and research this. I can't even fully articulate her words as well as she can, but I'm imploring you all to please, research this information. It's free. There are PDF texts just explaining all of this information to you all, because I don't want it to get lost in us wanting to defend and protect the status quo when there could be something so much better for us. And I know it sounds scary to say defund the police, but it's not defund the police and leave a void and just wait for chaos and anarchy to occur. It's, again, putting money into things that will help our community and creating response teams that will go and respond to specific issues. I'm just imploring you all to please not just listen to us, but also do the research on your own, because it's out there. And as young people, we are invested in this work in a different type of way, but I'm asking you all to be invested with us as well, to come with your facts so we can come with our facts, so we can actually have a dialogue, because you're saying it's not falling on deaf ears, but if you're telling me right now that you don't want to defund the police, then it kind of is. You know what I mean? So I'm just asking you all to please,
I don't think it's not defund the police, and I think you're saying it. I'm not disagreeing with it. But I would love to see money. I have said this before Hillsborough County school system over the last 2 or 3 years. I don't think we should have officers in the school. I don't think 4th graders and 5th graders should be arrested. We need to find another way to put in the school system to help, but discipline, but it doesn't need to be officers. When it comes down to mental health, when it comes down to drug treatment, when it comes down to a situation in a home between a husband and a wife, and there's not a gun there, maybe do like they're doing in California now, you got a social worker in the car with the police. I'm not saying defund safety. What I am saying is it need to be restructured in a different way. And when I said maybe we need to change it, because I think people are playing on the phrase defund. And nobody really mean to take all the money away and get rid of all the policemen, as was stated by an individual that spoke, and I and so many others. When I needed to call the police the other night to tell them to go to my 96-year-old aunt's house because somebody was beating on her window and we had just left there, I just was tired. I didn't want to get up. I'd been over there 4 times that day because she's disabled and my brother is there. They called, they went, they checked. Do they have somebody else can go out and do those kind of checks? Perhaps they do. But the problem is, I'm just saying, don't think I'm saying we don't need to restructure. There need to be a culture change, a dynamic shift. But maybe we are all saying defund while other people are coming out clearly and saying we don't agree with defunding, but we definitely agree. Restructuring, pull some of that money out. Take some of those officers and hire some social workers, hire some psychologists, hire some mental health counselors, hire some other individuals. That's what I mean when I say defund.
I hear you, but the reason behind the language of defund and abolish is because, like many people have already stated, you can't reform white supremacy. There's no there's no way to do that. And so when we're talking about defunding and abolishing, it's because we recognize that the system that we currently have is not just broken, it's broken beyond repair. So again, like I said, I'm asking you all to do your own individual research about the things that we're talking about, because this isn't enough, and it's not just y'all. I understand, you all don't have all the power. It's everyone. And in terms of no one ever showing up before, I personally didn't know this existed. Can't show up to something I don't know. So that PR money that they have for the police department, that needs to come to y'all. Y'all should be able to have flyers and posters and having people come out here. Maybe it already exists, but it's not enough. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So all I'm saying is, I would have loved to have been here before. I don't believe in, I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't believe in being reactionary. I'm coming now. I will continue to come because I don't want to wait for someone to die in the city of Tampa tomorrow for people to take this seriously. You know what I mean? So again, thank you all for your time. I just implore that you all continue to do what you do, but also research and see what other people are talking about, see what other people are saying, because there's merit and truth behind this. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman. Just
Reverend
a couple
Banks.
of comments. First of all, let me again thank you for being here. And one of the things that you have to be mindful of in terms of getting these revolutionary ideas implemented as policy is that the people who are in place who cannot see your vision, work hard to make sure you get people in position who can see your vision. I reiterate that. Secondly, let me ask you to be sure that staff facilitate the logistics such that people will not have to be corralled in and out, that we would have a facility large enough to handle them. I know this is the first time we had this many people here, so we had no idea of knowing that we would have this type of turnout. So this, anticipate that this is how it will be our next meeting, and to make sure we have additional space so that everybody can be accommodated. Thirdly, because this board is part of the oversight as it relates to the police department, let me express my dissatisfaction with the visual presence of the chief here tonight. He should have demonstrated more engagement with the constituents who are here that we work for. And additionally, he should not have walked out once he completed his comments.
Come on.
That anticipates that this crowd is going to act unruly, and I'm sure that's not the case. Give them the benefit of the doubt, and if something else needs to be done, we can do that after it happens. But these are intelligent people that deserve respect and should not have walked out, and that should not happen again.
I just wanted to say a couple things. One, it's so great to see all you guys. I love seeing all of you guys engaged. I would say a couple things. One, don't assume that we don't know what's going on and we haven't done our research and that we're not in the loop. We are. That's why we're spending our time doing this. Secondly, I mean, we are hearing you guys. We have limited power. I don't want what Reverend Banks said to escape you. First of all, we can't make somebody respect you, right? Like Chief Dugan, we can't make him get off his phone. We can't make him not walk out, as Reverend Banks said. The third thing I would say is a day of voting can prevent weeks, months of protesting. Everybody that you guys are complaining about is in an elected position or appointed by somebody in an elected position. None of us are elected officials, okay? We're volunteers just like you guys are. So just keep that in mind. I hope we keep this energy. As Dr. Collins said, 99% of the things that you guys said tonight, we already had on our agenda. That's why we called this emergency meeting for the month of June to talk about this. This is outside of our normal schedule. And it's fine that we didn't get to it, right? Because we want to listen to what you guys have to say and make sure that whatever it is that we're discussing is in line with what the community wants, because we are the Citizens Review Board, right? We're here for you guys. So I just want you to keep that in mind as you give your comments, that we are not against you. We are here to assist and in any way that we can help change your protest and convert it into policy. Like that's what we want to help do. And I just want to share that.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons.
I just have 4 comments, right? So specifically defunding, I feel like a lot of y'all aren't hearing us when we're saying defunding, as if we're just throwing the word around with no idea behind it. And a lot of y'all are, and like, you know, Ms. Collins, you said like restructuring or reforming instead of defunding. But I mean, in a sense, you're saying the same thing that we are asking for, just in a different language. We're saying take away their funding and allocate it to other places, right? So why can't that 2.6 million for body cams go back into education or go back into our social programs to build it up? We're literally saying the same thing, and I'm tired of us walking around and pussyfooting around the same thing, like the same comment or whatever. Like, I don't understand why defunding the police is like just radical, right? Why are we so comfortable that the police budget is 170 million, right? When there's schools that are underfunded, when there's children that are going hungry, when there's homeless people that are not getting resources, right? And I just want to say, I'm so tired, y'all, of identity politics. Why as black people, why do we always have to be calm and reserved when this man is literally got his squadron, got his officers shooting at us, tear gassing us, and pepper spray? I've been pepper sprayed, y'all, fighting for my life and for black and brown people that look like me, and I'm supposed to be reserved in front of this man who's allowed that to happen. I'm so tired of identity politics. We have been fighting for the same shit for 400 years, y'all. 400 years, slavery, Jim Crow. Like, why do black people always have to be so reserved and so poignant when we're talking to the master? And for you to say, for you guys to talk about voting, listen, black people have been voting. We've been fighting for the right to vote. Let's talk about voter suppression, right? Let's talk about gerrymandering, right? Because we talking about systemic. This is ingrained in American society. This is not just police, and we're not fighting BCM Tampa. We're not just fighting the police. We're fighting the system, right? And to say that we know that we have to go to the polls. To the polls. I apologize. We know that if these people aren't in here to meet our demands, that we will vote somebody in here. Mayor Jane Castor said, and I quote, "We ask the police to do too much. They are not trained. They are not equipped." Right? So why are we funding them so much money to do what they're not trained to do what they're not equipped to do? We mentioned defunding the police and back into programs. She said provide actual resources and actual statistics of actual programs that are happening, and it's a possibility, but we know that she's not going to defund. But yet we have the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay that's right here, right? That can do what the police is doing. This is literally, they have people trained to do that. They have their own ambulance service to do that. Why not educate these people and expand on the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay to reroute calls for sexual assault or domestic violence, people that are trained to do this? Let's build up the programs that we already have in place instead of pussyfooting around what we don't have or what we need to provide, because it's already here, right? It's already here. It's already doing well, because if the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay wasn't doing well, then it wouldn't be what it is, right? And then that's... I apologize that I don't have the time to convey all of my feelings and all of my emotions, because I'm hurting. My people are hurting, and I know that you may not have the power to do so, but you're saying that you are on these boards and having these conversations for X amount of years. I personally haven't seen change, and I'm willing to talk to you. I want your contact information so we can discuss, meet in person, or however you want to go about it. But please, don't let this be the last time. And that next meeting, I will be there. So please let me know the date and time. We will be there.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I know that, you guys here defund the police and abolish the police, and you think that that's impossible. And I do want to say that it's not something that's going to happen instantaneously, but something that needs to happen immediately is not only Chief Dugan, but every police officer on the Tampa Police Force needs to be held accountable for their actions with excessive force. Every police officer that sprayed innocent protesters, shot at innocent protesters, thrown innocent protesters to the ground and arrested them, why do they still have jobs? Why are we still paying them? Why do they get to stand there and go out every day and hurt the same people every single day? But we get put behind bars. And we have records that will go with us for the rest of our lives. But these officers that are doing that have clean slates. And how is that okay? How are we the ones that are violent when we're dying every day and you continue to fill their pockets? Not you specifically, but their pockets are being filled, and even when they're held accountable, they still get paid leave? That doesn't make any sense at all. They need to be held accountable now. Chief Dugan needs to be held accountable now. I don't want to have to go to a meeting and sit down face to face with him. I need somebody to tell him that he's wrong and that his position, he does not need to fill that position anymore. We do not need him. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I know I already spoke, but I originally was trying to come back in to speak with TPD, but for some reason they didn't allow me to until he left. So what I wanted to say to him, I couldn't, but I just want to say one more thing. I know I said this before, but just like he has to go home to a family, I have a family as well. If I would have been that type of person, you know how, I have been getting so many people asking me for the officer's name. And I have an officer's name. But I have not released his personal information because I'm not that type of person. I personally feel that with me doing that, I'm not this person they're portraying me on internet as whatever they're calling me. But with me to know who pointed a gun at me and I didn't retaliate like they retaliated after I dropped my video on social media, that shows a lot for me, and I just need to see a lot from Tampa Police Department. I have been here since 6 o'clock, and I did leave, but I came back. But my video has been on social media since Saturday. I have had people calling me, threatening me, saying all types of horrible things to me. If I would have gave the officer's name and I would have done something like that and people started calling him, what would have happened to me? They would have retaliated against me. So when I want something to happen towards that officer, whose name I won't tell, why does it have to happen to me? Like, I have a son that can't even sleep with me at night. I'm sleeping in a hotel room. I have a home that I pay rent to, and I can't even go to my house because of this. I have contacted Internal Affairs already, and I've spoken with Katie in Internal Affairs. She said she was going to investigate, and I have not heard anything back from her since Friday, when the incident originally happened. I also contacted their media relations. I guess she's a female. I contacted her. I said, can you put this down? And then the crazy thing is, when I looked her up, I seen that she was black herself. That's what bothers me the most. I'm a single mom. A single mom. I have help from the child's father, but I am a single mom. It's already hard out there being a black woman and at the same time being a single black woman at that, doing everything that I can for my son. And I'm honestly, I keep begging. I've been on news channels asking them, demanding. I haven't been demanding, I've been asking them. Please just mute out my personal information. I know for a fact that with them doing that, I felt they were doxing me in, and they were trying to put up some type of scare tactic for me and wanted me to delete the video, but now that it's gone viral and it's everywhere, they feel like they have to do something. Every time when they talked about my matter, they never informed me. They never told me, hey, we're throwing an emergency press conference, come, we want to hear your side. They never told us any of that. Like, they never told me any of that, nothing. I had to see what they had to say, and then I had to, and I didn't even get to say my side. I didn't even get to point out how I felt. And I feel like that's completely wrong. And still to this day, if you guys go on YouTube, on Tampa Police Department, their personal website, and scroll to my video, my information is still posted on the media till this day. And that's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, is there anybody here that can address that issue?
Yeah.
Because I hate to hear that someone is feeling intimidated as a result of information that is on our official website. Is there someone?
And I wanted to ask, have you filed a complaint that comes to the Citizen Review
I can tell you
Board?
everything I've done, ma'am.
No, just, and I understand, because I heard you, and I wrote you earlier when you said that. Did you file a complaint with the Citizen Review Board?
I filed a complaint with the IA detective, the assistant for media, Office Fitzpatrick, the NAACP. I spoke with someone there, Fitzpatrick there, Jamel, his assistant of media affairs, the Katie Thanasis, I think that's how you say her name, for the investigative, internal affairs, I'm sorry. I called over a few people. They have a couple of voicemails. Every time I do something, I document it and I put a time next to it. But I have all the information on my phone. Every phone call I've made, what time I called them, what time I got off. I'm very efficient with that. But if you guys were to check your phone right now and go to Tampa PD, you will still see that video up. And I can even tell you the time. It was at 12:53 on Tampa PD is when they started asking for my first and last name, my date of birth, my address, and my phone number. And again, I put a 7-year lock on my credit because of this. That's all.
Thank you. Board would definitely look into
I'm
that.
still gonna ask her to file a complaint with us.
Yes. If you will, Mike Schmidt, can you approach the podium? Are you familiar with this media outlet that the young lady is speaking of?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, what's the status of this footage?
Well, I mean, if you're referring to she has made a internal IA complaint, then we need to go through the IA process.
I think the question he's asking
Is it a case number attached? No.
That I don't know, sir.
Okay. One moment, order.
When Chair, you're aware that the rules, we can't comment on an ongoing internal investigation complaint.
Can we offer a motion that we direct them to do what is necessary to facilitate her information being taken down if it's legally possible? I offer that motion.
You can absolutely make a motion.
I second it.
Immediately.
Yeah, while the investigation is going down, that way her personal information is not.
I understand. There is additional information, but obviously we can't comment about an ongoing internal
No, we're not
investigation
looking for
case, so
comment.
I
We just
can't,
want the video.
just be aware that the board can't hear
I understand, but.
We understand.
Reverend
hear
Banks,
from
can
the
you
department. The board
restate
doesn't
that
have to hear
motion?
from the department at this time. No.
There's a motion on the table.
There's a motion and a
If
second.
you will, Reverend Banks, can you repeat that motion, please?
I move that we direct the staff to facilitate taking the personal information down that is causing her life to be threatened if it's legally possible.
Second, again.
Yeah, and I know we can't comment on any kind of open, but I mean, even if we need to, like we've done before, write a letter to TPD asking them to do that while they're doing the investigation. I mean, anything we can do to just, be protective of her privacy
Absolutely.
would be
Yes.
humane.
Yeah, and this board can make recommendations, and I think the motion has been made, and I think that seems to
Call
be
for
what
the
the board's
question.
recommendation is. So I would take that as a recommendation
Call
from
for
the
the
board.
question so we can get a vote.
For the motion on the table, we need to conduct a vote in reference to having the request letter in reference to that particular private information to be disclosed out of the investigation, out of the public eye. Those all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, that motion passes. And let's go ahead and table on July's agenda a follow-up to ensure the letter or a response to the letter has been done, so.
No, but the issue is an immediate issue
Right.
Yeah, you don't want
of
to
this
follow up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to
lady's
follow up.
safety. And I don't think we should be waiting for a letter to come out in July. I think this is something that needs to be done.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And this is totally independent of the internal affairs case, which is open, and we should not delve into those matters, but we're dealing with the immediate privacy issues of this young lady.
Agreed. The only mentioned the meeting in July as a follow-up to ensure that request has been acted
But I
out.
think what he's
Why don't
saying
we
is
do
you
this?
may
Why
need
don't
to
we-
follow
why
up
don't
with
we do
that
this?
letter and make sure it gets.
Why don't we have them give us communication within the week if that can't be done? Like, 'cause,
About week
you know,
10,
the clerk
not
can
at a
email
week.
us, right?
This week.
Mike Schmidt, if you will, please. So again, we're requesting, what would be the immediate results?
Why don't we do it in a motion and that would help Mike? Why don't we make a motion that by Friday, that we ask for communication to be sent out to all CRB members, that there have been something addressed to this issue for her safety? That's a motion. That's a motion.
And that's a motion.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I don't.
Stephen Blair second the motion. We'll continue with the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, Mike Schmidt.
Thank you, Lincoln.
Thank you,
We
Mike.
look forward to that information.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We need to quit, man. We might protest if you take too long.
Any other commentary?
Yeah, I just have a quick yes or no question. You guys can answer too, or if the police over there want to answer. I know Chief Dugan is gone. And Chief Dugan actually lied about this on TV. We were all there. We were at the protest. We know what the answer is. The question is, was tear gas used on the protesters in Tampa? Was tear gas used? Because we have videos. We were all there.
I'm not sure that I'm the spokesman of the department chair, but,
Please.
so I'm not.
Direct your questions to the panel.
That's not how this is supposed to proceed. I'm not the
Exactly.
comment for
You
the.
don't want to answer? Okay. Thank you.
Not the proper forum.
Hi, I just have a quick question. Was Jane Castor supposed to be here tonight? And if yes, why is she not here?
She wasn't supposed to be here.
Yes, so on today's agenda, we're going to discuss formats. The invite was for actually in July, so she was not scheduled to be here tonight.
Yeah, neither the mayor nor the chief of police normally come to our meetings unless we ask them to.
Say that again?
It isn't funny.
Where did they see that at?
Okay.
Where did they see it?
Hello again. This is just like indirect response to, I guess your all's response to us. Just to be clear, like when I'm talking about and when decades and decades of Black and brown activists and scholars are talking about abolishing the police and defunding the police, it's not that we're abandoning our communities to violence. We don't want to just close police departments and sheriff's departments and state troopers departments and every other fascist institution that upholds white supremacy in our communities, but we want to make them obsolete. Like, I can speak personally to get really real. Like, as a rape victim, like having the police to call has never been an option as a Black non-man. Like the current approach we have, if we're talking about like sexual assault and battery especially, has not ended the phenomena we see under our racist, sexist system. Like if, in fact, most rapists never see the inside of a courtroom, and if police officers themselves, the second most committed act and complaint against police officers since a 2010 study, so we have years and years of evidence, is sexual misconduct. So we're talking about making our communities safer. Abolishing the police is step one to that, and abolishing capitalism is step two, because a system that is made for a small portion of rich people is the reason you all are not paid for your labor, and people with guns in the streets that are killing us are paid for theirs.
Yeah, no, not as that, maybe.
Okay, so, it's 9:30. The meeting has definitely become very lengthy. Just one moment. So I'm speaking with the panel and board members on how you all would like to continue tonight's meeting in reference to the motion made earlier, in reference to F2, and also reference to F2. Do you want to continue that? Does that need to be tabled at this time? How do you all want to proceed moving forward?
Well, we did not get the aide can't wait report until he's
Tonight.
not here today, so we can't discuss that because we haven't read it. Use of force policy, the city of Tampa protest of Mr. Floyd's death, his murder. We don't have the police department to speak with here either about that, so I think that train has left the station.
I would suggest, as you stated, that we have delayed F1 to July, F2 ranking senator in the state, and I called him and I had the letter in less than 5 minutes. He had his staff send it to us. So I think a copy of that letter should be sent, and I'd like that to be in our packet for next month. And the last thing I'm going to ask for is the July 26, 2016 document. I'm not going to make a motion, but in July 2016, I submitted a 5-page statement because we were asking that we have power to do that most of the boards do not have, and that's the subpoena power. And I just think we need to take a look at it, because many of the complaints that we've heard today, we talked about this back in July 2016. And if not, I will give a copy of the July 26, 2016 document, and I'd like to see that. And the continuum on use of force as well would be added into that. So I would like to see that we put some really meat in that, and that I guess we can wait the next month, but I think we need to reconsider in the current state of things going back to monthly meetings.
Yeah, I agree with.
I don't want to see us doing every other month.
I think we'll have a formal motion to go back to the monthly meetings. I agree with that.
Yeah.
The 8 can't wait, the document we got today, my understanding is that a number of the policies have been updated in the last 2 weeks to respond to everything that's going on. As Mr. Tamayo said, we just got this evening. We did not get it in advance. It looks like there's a lot of things highlighted. I'm assuming the highlight means updated policy. It would be nice to get some color to what was changed and what, so that we'll have a feel for what was in there before. You know, normally when you get a document like this, there'll be something at the bottom that says updated as of, you know, 6/12/2020, or whatever that may be. So that would help us, I think, as a board to know what was changed and whatnot that's in this policy, because I know there's some updates. And then I will go ahead and make a formal motion that we go back to monthly meetings, until otherwise
Second.
necessary.
It's a motion on the table to continue with the monthly meetings. Date yet to be determined. Dr. Collins has seconded the motion. All those in favor in returning back to a monthly meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes.
And the date to be determined, I think we should leave it the way we have it, as long as it's consistent with, our falling behind the city council and not conflicting with them. And as it stands, they also, I guess, Steve, I guess they looking at our fourth Tuesday, and if we stay on the fourth Tuesday.
Right, and as well as the accessibility of the Civic Center as well.
As long as we falling behind the city council, wherever it is,
Right.
that's not our problem. It's just to make sure that we have the meeting and they can set it up.
The fourth Tuesday of July is the 28th on a Tuesday. And as far as we know, that meeting will be held here at the Tampa Convention Center on Tuesday, July 28th at 6 p.m. We will continue the agenda starting from F1 into F2, as well as FG.
G1. And I recommend we take G1 and put it at the top of the agenda, because those members who served on this board ought to be recognized, and we need to put them at the top of the agenda.
I concur. After the approval of the minutes,
Yes.
Yes.
so agenda will go as follows: call to order, pledge of allegiance, roll call, approval of the minutes, staff, CRB and staff reports and business, followed by public comment, followed by community and Tampa Police Department matters, including bullet point 1 and bullet point 2.
And that means you guys don't have to pull a case. That'll be a full agenda.
Is there any other comments or questions or concerns?
Well,
Could you-
Chairman Akil, I've been sitting here kind of quietly because I'm white. And, you know, I don't know how it feels to be black. I don't know how it feels to be judged simply by walking in the room and seeing the color of my skin. And I'm upset with everything I've heard tonight. Not that I haven't heard it on TV, not that I haven't seen it, but on the other side of that is, and most of the audience is gone now, but I felt a little judged for being white. And you know, it's an uncomfortable feeling, isn't it? And I understand that it's an uncomfortable feeling. But please do not misinterpret my skin color for my caring. I see people dying. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm a sister. I feel that pain, so don't think for a moment, because of the color of my skin, that I don't feel it. And I wasn't going to say anything, but that's being a coward. So that's really all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Guy. Any other comments, concerns, or questions?
Since you're asking that, and I think if you listen to the people at the mic, we're going to probably adjourn, because we've seen the next meeting. I want to just read a statement. It's not mine. and Sherman L. Sharpton's. And he simply said, we must continue to protest and advocate for that which is right, as long as things are wrong. That is what we're supposed to do. And he signed off on his MSNBC show, and that was in October of last year on the 20th. And so not one of us up here is advocating for anybody not to protest for what is right. And if you're doing protesting and you're protesting right, that is part of your constitutional right. And you should be able to do that and be supported. So that's not what we are here for. We're not here to say what you shouldn't do, but as long as you're doing it and you're doing it right, then the other individuals must respect what you're doing as well. And that would include whether it's TPD or whether it's FHP or whether it's SCSO, SO, and that's what it's all about, and that's how we make change, and that's how change has occurred in this country. And so we don't want you to write off the CRB. We're here to assist. We may not have all of the power in the world, but we can certainly make motions and let people know that we're supporting the right thing to be done. But we're gonna listen to you, and we're gonna ask you to give us a chance and listen to us. And that's the only way we can do it together, when we respect each other and work together. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're quite welcome.
If I may, recognize Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Thank you.
state your name.
Thank you. And I'm Louis Vera. I'm with Tampa City Council. For those of y'all who don't know me, I've been here listening. I was watching it on television, and I said to myself, you know what? I want to be here to listen in person. So I just wanted y'all to know that an elected official is here from Tampa City Council. We have another meeting in a couple of days, and a lot of the things that I heard here tonight, I'm going to take with us, and we can have a discussion on Thursday. So just wanted to let you all know that we're here, we're listening, and we're here to engage. I always say that in this very historic time, there's three things that a good American has to do. Number one, we build bridges with one another. We talk. Doesn't matter our political party, doesn't matter our religion, doesn't matter what we do for a living. We talk, we don't demonize one another in the process. Number two is we repair the breach. That's from the book of Isaiah, which is we recognize that something has been wrong historically. Somebody mentioned Jamestown. Since Jamestown in 1619, all the way to the end of Reconstruction in 1876, the beginning of Jim Crow, to the end of the formal civil rights movement, all the way to today, there's been a history of injustices, and we got to repair that. And number three, a good American makes historical wrongs right in their own time. And that's what we're working on here. So, maybe we won't see eye to eye on every single issue. There's certain things where I can go, I agree 100%. There's certain things that we have worked on. There's a lot of things. But I can tell you 100% that all of us at Tampa City Council, we're going to be working with the community, with everybody, including a lot of people here. And I wanted to thank all of the members of the CRB. I saw in the video, and it's I've been up there, and it's tough. A lot of good people, some of the best people I know sit up here. Colonel Reyes, Lincoln, Demetrius, Dr. Collins, so many people, Irene, a lot of good folks that I know. So God bless you all for your service. But just wanted to make my presence known. I was just sitting back there, and I said, I'll be darned if I don't just speak up and say something. But the most important thing is we're not here to demonize one another. I always tell people I'm not here to demonize peaceful protesters. I'm also not here to demonize law enforcement. I'm here to build bridges, to get things done, talk about repairing that breach, talk about making those historical wrongs right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here.
One last public comment before we adjourn.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I don't want to repeat everything that everybody has said today. I'm an abolitionist. I believe in defunding the police and setting up alternative programs. But I guess something slightly different would be my story. I was at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida on Valentine's Day of 2018 when the shooting happened, shortly after I moved to Tampa. And I was in Tampa during the March for Our Lives protest, in which I was the main speaker. We had thousands of people there who were angry, who were marching, who were screaming, who were blocking the roads. And There was not one cop in sight who harassed us, and it wasn't until I marched for Black Lives in Tampa that I was shot by a rubber bullet, and then had to listen to Chief Dugan on video say that that absolutely never happened. And it's extremely humiliating and infuriating to be victimized like that, to be shot, to have my shirt inside my back, and then being told that that never happened. I did want to advocate for the removal of armed resource officers from school, from public schools, just because I don't think our kids need that. I've been in a school where there has been guns. I was there when there was a shooting. I know what it's like to run for my life from a gun in school. And I feel like our kids today, they don't need that. They don't need to be victimized. They don't need to be arrested in school. They need help. And a lot of times the school that needs the most help are the ones in Black and brown low-income communities, and that's where defunding the police comes in. When we defund, we have money to put back into these communities, to invest into these communities. It's not a coincidence that we see a lot of crime happening in low-income communities. One, people need to survive, and two, we over-police these communities. They terrorize us. They terrorize Black and brown folks. They terrorize us in school. They constantly terrorize our communities. So it's not to demonize law enforcement, and it's not prejudice. It's not to judge them. It's what we know we want based off of the experiences that we've had. We're not coming towards this from a place of ignorance, nor are we coming this or are we coming to this from a place of hatred. But we're responding to the experiences that we've had, and we're responding to the experiences that we haven't had. Because before this, I had never been shot by a rubber bullet. I've never been shot at all. And the fact that in those 20 seconds where I was running from my life again from cops, and I was shot by a cop, I realized that those 20 seconds are how a lot of people live their lives constantly in these communities. So I would appreciate if you guys could advocate for the reallocation of funds from the police and into social services and the community, and the demilitarization of our cops, because the last thing I needed on the day of the shooting was cops coming into my classroom and pointing a gun at me after knowing that we had just ran from an active shooter. Thank you.
You're welcome. Board members, if for some reason you're unable to attend the next meeting, please notify Ms. Mercer at least 48 hours in advance so we can ensure alternate will be available. No final comments and questions?
Just one more person.
You know what, just, is she standing there, and I
Okay.
don't want to adjourn on her? That'll be the last one.
If you will, please.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you guys for staying late, and also challenge especially the white members on the board. I know it's uncomfortable to sit in that discomfort, to learn from it, to learn why you're feeling that way, and to talk to people like Jane Castor who look like you, and say things like black on black crime are the problem. I want to challenge you to talk to people who look like you, because you're hearing us, and I appreciate you listening tonight, and they need to listen too. And coming from someone who looks like them, I think it'll probably mean a lot more, unfortunately. So do what you can, please. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Citizen Review Board is now adjourned.